good morning. It is a Monday edition of the program. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. Hope you had a great weekend. I had a busy weekend. Spent a lot of it outside. It was nice. It was very nice. Good to be back. It's fantasy week. We're fulfilling all of your fantasies all week long. Griffin, take your shirt off.
Is that everyone's fantasy?
I got to tell you, I think that whatever day I don't even remember what the bet was that required you to do the show in your underwear.
Oh yeah. It was
popped up.
I said something about that I'm taking the unders. And
okay.
The over hit that night.
All right, it popped up.
Thursday night unders.
Is it Thursday night? Oh, that's what it was.
Which we're back on this year.
Oh, are we? Maybe not week one.
Yeah.
I think my younger son was going through like my Facebook pictures or something like that, and he was like, "What is he doing in his underwear?" And I was like, "Oh, right, we did that. That was a thing. That happened." And then I was trying to explain it, and that made it more complicated. It's just like, what? Like, yeah. It's like,
he's producing the show.
Does he always do the show in his underwear? I'm like, no, not always, but like, sometimes.
Only when they're not here.
Right. Then it'd be wildly inappropriate.
Yeah.
Except if you suggested it, they'd be like, hell yeah, let's do the show in our underwear. You gave them one excuse. I swear.
They're like, all right.
They're like, it's party time. They're Chris Pontius. Like, they're just waiting for a reason to go crazy. We're going to do Fantasy Week this week, all week long. Every day this week, we're going to talk fantasy football. As I'm excited, it's draft weekend is upon us. If you still haven't scheduled your draft, if you're still struggling, and by the way, I'm in multiple leagues that still haven't scheduled the draft. And I just know at this point that, like, the plan is, forget it. We'll just end up doing it online, and if you're at work, you're at work. I just know how this goes. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got a lot going on. People don't. I have one league where we take it very seriously. We have a plan. We're going to Tim Russell, the Love Muscles house on Sunday. That's what I call him. I don't know if anybody else has ever called him that, although I'm pretty sure I got it from somewhere else. I don't remember how it started, but I've always called him Tim Russell, the Love Muscle. It's my guy.
Does he enjoy that?
I don't know.
Doesn't really matter.
Not my concern. We're going there on Sunday. Blocking off Sunday. Unavailable. Loyola's got a soccer match on Sunday. Not available. Not doing it. This is a holy day. But these other leagues, I keep telling them, like, what are we doing? And I know that you're in that boat where, like, you have a league where your people just have not taken it seriously. So take it out of their hands. Stop letting them... Oh, well, I guess we could do this. I don't know. I'm very bit. Stop it. Just say, you know what? I've got it. I got it covered. We're going to Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel. We'll see you there. And right now, go to PressBoxOnline.com/social because if you host your draft there, and by the way, there's not a better weekend to do it than this coming weekend. There's college football, there's baseball, there's tennis on all that giant 100-foot media wall. But you'll get your choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, plus your drinks, the fantasy football, the draft kit, and the trophy for the league, and a nice $75 tip for the commissioner in a gift card. All taken care of. PressBoxOnline.com/social. Click that link. Go get it signed up. Your league will be drafting at Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. We'll be doing fantasy football content all week this week. Ken Zalis joins us today. You might remember him. He retired. And then he decided, I'm not really retired. And it was weird because we all told him he wasn't really retired. It's just a funny bit, the way that it worked out. But we'll catch up with him later on today. Also today, in a few minutes, our friend Tim Kurkjian from ESPN. Of course, the Birds were on ESPN last night. That one didn't go so well, but we'll talk to Tim about the ups and the downs and the trials and the tribulations of the Orioles after an eventful weekend. Vernon Davis, you may remember him, Maryland football legend, legendary NFL tight end. He's got a new book out. It's called Playing Ball, and we're going to catch up with the former Terp to talk about that, And it's Monday, so we'll chat with Jeremy Conn. All that and more coming up on the program. We begin by putting a couple of guys up on the board.
Experience the thrill of the Mars, Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring local food, shopping, and fun for all. Come for the event and stay for the experience in Cecil County, home to the Chesapeake Bay waterfront, vibrant small towns, and family entertainment. Tickets on sale now at maryland5star.us.
Yeah, 2 men of the match from the weekend, and it wasn't very hard this particular weekend because 2 games were determined by 2 swings. 2 wins, anyway, were determined by 2 swings. On Friday night, everything was looking bleak. Bleak. Like, that one was one of those, like, oh, this could go really. Like, that's when you're starting to do the math of, like.
It felt like Thursday night again. Like
they missed the play. Like, that Friday night was one of those. You're starting to wonder what rock bottom might be. And genuinely, I'm not trying to be trite when I say that. Like, I think all of us were having very similar feelings about, like, how bad could this get? Is this just the story of the 2024 Orioles? Given everything they've been through, this is who they are. And then, obviously, with one swing of the bat, Anthony Santander changes that narrative, launches the grand slam that puts them ahead as they ultimately win 7-5. It's the most electric moment of the season to this point. It's funny because last week I had that conversation about how this year has kind of lacked Oriole magic.
Right.
And then there it is. And we get it again, obviously, on Saturday. The Orioles unable to do anything offensively. I mean anything. They do finally get one big hit with the bases loaded. Yes, kudos to Colton Cowser for beating out a ground ball to first base. Ryan Chell was like, shouldn't it be Colton Cowser man of the match? Like, look, man,
Could be.
No. I'm grateful that he beat out the ball to first base, but let's be honest, that's luck. Like, it's luck that John Singleton is a lumbering and couldn't make a play that should be made by any average first baseman. And God bless him. Like, I appreciate the fact that he was hustling. Because a lot of guys don't. Eloy Jimenez hurt himself watching Colton Cowser run that out to first base.
He missed about 3 months.
I'm not sure Eloy Jimenez could have gotten halfway to first base in the time that Colton Cowser got to first base. Which isn't a knock on Eloy Jimenez, who does other things.
Sometimes.
I'm starting to.
Yeah.
Like, it was fun. It was fun for a little bit. He hit a solid line drive single last night. And he swings with the other hand, which a lot of these guys don't do. So he's got that going for him. The point being, they desperately needed somebody to come through, and Jackson Holliday did just that. So for the second time this season, Jackson Holliday is man of the match. For the 5th time this season, Anthony Santander is man of the match. I ended up having a weird back and forth with Jacob Calvin-Meyer from the Baltimore Sun. I was trying to figure out if I was more of a dick than I realized I was. Jacob Calvin-Meyer tweeted out, the Orioles were 2 clutch hits away from being swept this weekend. They were fortunate to escape with a split. This weekend could have been a disaster if not for Anthony Santander's grand slam and Jackson Holliday's double. It won't get any easier against the Dodgers. I don't, and maybe it's other people piling on. Maybe that's why he came back at me aggressively. I didn't like the way that was worded. I just didn't. And it's not, I understand the gist of what he's saying, and we agree about the gist of what he's saying, but it's not worded well. And I said that. I said there's a better way to say this. You can't take away good things that happen because they don't fit the narrative. But the point is that the narrative exists for good reason. They had 3 legitimate runners in scoring position hits this weekend, plus Colton Cowser's goofy. Like, the facts will say they had 4. I mean, come on. Like,
base hit.
It legally speaking, it's a base hit. We shouldn't call it a base hit.
Do you want it to be an E? You want it to be an error then?
It really, in a normal world, it would be. But like we have these, you have to have dropped the ball, or you have to have thrown the ball away. It can't just be you're not good at playing first base.
So we should just start manipulating it to do it, so it counts as an error and a base hit.
Maybe something like that. I don't know.
Like,
and yeah, that's not okay. Like, and then he was very, I wasn't taking away the good things. So much so, I'm like, dude, what? It's not that aggressive.
Should we call him?
No, we're fine. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he hates me. I have no idea. I did notice that other people were coming after him about it. But, like, and I say this all the time. You can't do that. You can't say, well, other than all the good things, no good things happen. It don't work that way. But you can acknowledge the good things and say, even still, which in his response he ultimately did, they were outplayed for most of the 36 innings. I also don't even know that I technically agree with it. Like, the Astros didn't do anything on Saturday night. Like, if they would have won that game, they would have been winning by default. Like, they would have just been winning because the Orioles couldn't score enough runs. Like, it's not like the Astros overwhelmed the Orioles or anything like that. It's Thursday they did. I'll give you that. Last night, again, it was a tie game until Burch Smith gave up 2 solo home runs. They were outscored by 6 runs. It isn't about whatever narrative you're referencing. I'm like, dude, it's just easy. Easy. There's levels of appropriate ways to talk about what happened with the Orioles this weekend. What I would say is they did well to come away with a series split against what might be the best team in the American League. That's a fact. Much like the Cleveland split a few weekends ago, that's a good result that reminds you that you're still right there with the better teams in the American League. The best. As much as we fear the Orioles just are garbage, that hasn't been the case. They've had moments where they've looked really bad, but the reality hasn't been that they're just awful. And we can say they have offensive issues. We can say they have bullpen issues. Ironically, the starting pitching was not really that bad this weekend.
Yeah, I guess for the weekend.
Yeah, the worst starting pitcher is Corbin Burns.
Povich on
Povich was not
Friday night.
Yeah, you can't pretend. Like, you can. I saw a lot of people like, I didn't think he was dreadful. Like, yeah, you could try to squint and say he's not dreadful, but, like, he wasn't good, and that's sort of the reality of the story with Cade Povich. And by the way, you got to turn around and start Cole Irvin again. So, how we feeling, Baltimore? You can say things that are factually accurate without saying, hey, take away blank. Like, no, there's no take away blank. It's all part of the story. And if the Orioles are going to prove to be a team that's more clutch than they are particularly good, that might be just as well. I mean that. The runs count the same whether you score them in the... If you can get good pitching and timely hitting and not be an overwhelmingly offensive team, that's fine. It is. You can win games that way. Now, do I trust that that's what they're going to be? Of course not. Hence the narrative. Hence why I say we know the narrative exists for good reason. The narrative is they're not a very good offensive team at the moment. And they're not. No way around it. They're not a very good offensive team. Some of that obviously is related to their injuries. Some of that is they made up some guy to play first base last night who worked a couple of walks, and God bless him. Nobody on the planet knows who this guy is. No one. He walked in and was like, "What am I doing here? Like, what's happening?" They couldn't pinch hit last night because on top of the guys that are already like on the injured list, they didn't have either Ryan Mountcastle or Cedric Mullins available to them. They were playing with 11 guys. Ryan Hearn's a mess, but that's a conversation we'll get back to when we do 3 up and 3 down. There is a line between how much of the story is related to the injuries and how much of the story is related to guys just not performing. Like right now, Ryan O'Hearn's not performing. Adley Rutschman for a prolonged period has not performed. Gunnar Henderson is still performing, but not at like the superstar level that we had hoped that he would perform. the offense is an issue. But they still did enough to win. I mean, frankly, the offense won the game on Friday. That's a fact. It wasn't the pitching. And they did enough to win on Saturday. And truth be told, it's got to meet in the middle somewhere. This thing that we were like, well, with all the pitching injuries, the offense is going to have to shoulder the load. Like, you can't suddenly make a team that's good into the murderer's row Yankees just because there's pitching injuries. It don't work that way. Like, it's just nonsense. But they got to do enough. And at times, they did enough. Last night, they didn't do enough. They had 2 hits. We all saw the same game. That wasn't okay. Very simple to say, you can't win many games when you get 2 hits. Not going to happen. You don't have to take away anything else that occurred this weekend in order to be able to say, you record 2 hits in a baseball game, overwhelmingly, you're not going to win. Although they did win a game where they had 3 hits against the Red Sox last weekend, so, you know, it's not simple math. They have a lot of issues. And I sat down to write. I'm actually going to be writing about the Orioles at PressBoxOnline.com today because I sat down to write last night, and I was like, I don't know how broad this narrative is going to be. Like, I can talk about how this weekend they came up with some clutch hits. And that's basically what I would be saying is, like, can they continue to have clutch hits? Because clutch hits are as good as being a solid offensive team and putting more guys on. Like, but it's not a strong statement. I didn't like it. I chose not to write the column. I don't have a big takeaway from this weekend. My big takeaway from the weekend is they stayed above water. That's my big takeaway. They're not drowning. Now, there's a massive difference between not drowning and being Katie Ledecky. Huge gap between those two things. Right now, the bar they're meeting is not drowning. That's the bar. And they could be drowning, given everything they've gone through. And they're not doing that. And I don't know that it is as simplistic. Well, ask Tim Kurkjian if it's as simplistic as if they can just continue to not drown, then when they get some of these guys back, they've got a real chance. To me, that feels too simplistic. To me, it feels hopeful. Like, we want that to be the case, so let's say it to make ourselves feel better, but ultimately, but maybe it's not. Maybe that really is the truth, that if they can just continue to not drown, stay above water, start getting some guys back, hopefully you don't lose anymore. At least significantly, right? Like, you get Cedric Mullins back this week. You get Ryan Mountcastle back this week. Hopefully you stabilize. And if that's the case, then maybe they have a chance. It's good to see Sir Anthony Dominguez bounce back this weekend. That's a positive. I don't know why. Again, if you're literally going to still make him your closer after he gave up home runs in 3 straight appearances, why can't you just call him your closer? Like, clearly he's your closer, because if there was any debate, then 3 straight games without giving up a home run would be a great time to say, well, we'll go to somebody else. But there ain't somebody else. He's the closer. Maybe just say it out loud.
Got to protect Kimbrel, just in case.
Yeah. Just in case of what?
What if, in case, they've used Dominguez 3 days in a row?
Yeah. Credit to Greg Kimbrel, who made a mess on Friday night, and we didn't think it mattered that he got out of it because they were down 5-2 at the time?
Yes.
But he did get out of the mess that he made. So, there's that. I can't say a lot more than that. And look, Dean Kramer, he wasn't brilliant last night, but legally speaking, that's a quality start. That's why we got to do better on quality starts. We talked about that with Drew last week. Putting 9 guys on in 6 innings shouldn't be considered a quality start, but it is. So we acknowledge that, and he did only give up 3 runs, and that does matter. Like, it does matter. It was, not as good as the other start he had this week, but it was still a winning effort. And That's the bar that we can ask for at the moment, given everything that's going on. Winning effort, good enough is good enough. And last night he was good enough. There were other moments of good. Albert Suarez isn't perfect, but he was still good. There's good. Good is good. It ain't raucous. It ain't joyous, although the moment that Anthony Santana, those two moments were raucous moments, man. They were electric moments to be at the ballpark. The entire feeling isn't electric. We're not coming in today like, Orioles! It's not that. But it sure as hell could be worse.
The motto of the season, really.
At this point,
Sure
yeah.
as hell could be worse.
I mean, the way that it's gone, it absolutely could be worse. They're back to being a game and a half back. You know, it was a fun feeling on Saturday when they got back within a half game. Like, man, all of this, and they're only a half game back. That lasted for all of the day. Aaron Judge is going to hit 70 home runs this season. It's what it is. It's what it is. They've got two good baseball players in New York, but they're really good. They're very, very good, the two that they have. The others, not so much. But they're two, very good. Coming up in a bit this morning, we're going to go 3 up and 3 down. Get me your 3 Orioles most deserving of praise and most deserving of scorn for the team's 3-4 week against the Mets and the Astros. You can hit me up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. It's brought to you by the Costas Inn, and someone's going to win a $50 gift card to the Costas Inn just by participating at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. 3 up and 3 down. Of course, the Orioles were on Sunday Night Baseball last night. Let's take a moment to catch up with ESPN, MLB insider, and our great friend, the Hall of Famer, Mr. Tim Kurkjian, who is with us now here on GCR. Tim, it's Glenn. It's always great to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
My pleasure.
Tim, we were just talking about this a minute ago. If I pose it this way, the Orioles are struggling but not drowning. They're staying above water as they struggle. Is that enough, combined with getting pieces back before the season is over, that they can still put themselves in position to have a legitimate chance at winning a World Series?
Yes, because they are in the same spot as virtually every other contending team out there. Every single contending team in the major leagues this year has hit some patch where you look at it and go, like, what happened to them? For the Yankees, it took like 5 weeks. The Phillies looked like the best team in baseball, and then suddenly they went a month and couldn't get anyone out of their bullpen. The Orioles have been through this, and since there is no, at least in my mind, prohibitive favorite in the American or the National League right now, if the Orioles can get their people healthy, and this has been ridiculous how many injuries they've had to deal with, if they can get everyone healthy by October the 1st, they could be a very dangerous team. Of course, so can 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 other teams in the major leagues. But I would be happy if I were an Oriole fan to be 20 games over, only a game and a half out of first place, with this many people on the injured list and this many people out for the season.
Tim, I feel like, by the way, I largely agree with you. The retort from someone might be, well, they're not decimated offensively, right? Like, this is still Gunnar and Adley and Santander and the bulk of what you expected it to be. It's just Jordan Westburg and Jorge Mateo who are out, and yet the offense went from being arguably the best in the American League to being very middle of the pack. Is it fair to say that there's a problem beyond just the injuries, specifically when it comes to their offense?
I think problem is too strong of a word.
Okay.
Is it a minor concern? Yes. But let's not forget how good Jordan Westburg was before he got hurt.
That's
he
fair.
Was on the All-Star team.
Yep.
You know, Mateo's a good player, and he, as Brandon Hyde told me, we kind of go as he goes. When he plays really well, so do we. So I don't think they're a great offensive team even when they're at 100%. But they're good enough at 100% offensively to go to and win the World Series. So I think this is just They got to get their lineup healthy also. But first, of course, they got to get their pitching healthy.
To the point, Tim, when Mateo and obviously Mullins as well, they're the two guys that present something obviously very different in terms of their skill set. And I think that plays a big role when you're missing that. Like, you have a lot of guys that do similar things, and you could use one of those guys that can get on base and create problems and create havoc, and that's not something that they've had with Jorge Mateo sidelined. Tim, I guess the other concern at the moment, I would assume that you're going to tell us that we shouldn't overreact to the stretch of 4 starts that Corbin Burnes has had over the course of the last month.
Right. You shouldn't. He's a great pitcher who's pitching for something more than he's pitching for a contract. He's pitching for a World Series. He's pitching for a lot of things, and there is nothing to suggest that he's not going to be really good in his next start and really good in October. At least I don't see it. But obviously, he's going to have to be great. He's going to have to be arguably the best pitcher in the league if they're going to get to and win the World Series. He's going to have to be what almost every team needs if you're going to win a World Series. You need someone who's going to start Game 1 and Game 7, and there can be no question about it. I think he should be that guy. I think he will be that guy, and I don't worry about guys hitting bad stretches because this is baseball. I get yelled at all the time. Hardest game in the world to play, and really good players aren't great every single time out.
Yes, it is a game of failure where the greatest players of all time offensively failed more than they succeeded. Tim Kurkjian is with us here on GCR. Tim, what did you make of, Sir Anthony Dominguez goes through this patch where he gives up home runs in 3 straight appearances, and yet, once again, Friday night, save opportunity, there he is. The commitment that Brandon Hyde has had with Sir Anthony Dominguez, even though he won't just use the word closer, it's a funny thing, but what have you made of that commitment and the job overall that Dominguez has done?
Well, commitment has to be there, especially for someone who has done this before. You go acquire somebody, and this is just how it works now, Glenn. You got to tell the new guy on the team, this is your role on the team. Otherwise, he's going to look around going, what am I doing here, and what is my role? When you clarify it, then I think that usually helps. Now, of course, you have to do the job once you're given the role, and he's been a little bit spotty, as he was with the Phillies. We all know when you throw in the upper 90s with that kind of repertoire, he's really hard to hit when he's right, but he also has been erratic the last few years, and I just think it's time to try him and see if the light will go on for the next, month and a half, 2.5 months in order to get them to the World Series and win it. They're going to need someone at the end. And it could be him, but that's what they're looking at right now. How good is this guy? How ready is he to be the closer on a championship caliber team?
On the flip side, it's been largely dreadful for Craig Kimbrell. Not just it's been a non-competitive at times with the walks and the stolen bases. Is there a scenario again? This world where you get these guys, where you get Webb back, you get Coulomb back, you have starters that have been helpful that would be probably bumped out of the rotation if Eflin and Grayson are back. Is there a world where maybe Craig Kimbrell right now is sort of fighting for his life on a playoff roster?
Look, anything is possible this time of year, and this is what is so beautiful about postseason baseball. All the rules are thrown out. You don't just have a closer. You use a starting pitcher to close the game because you got to win, and you got to win today. So I wouldn't be surprised about anything that happens with any team with their rotation or with their bullpen in the postseason, and that includes the Orioles. And you're right. They may get there and say Craig Kimbrell is not getting it done. Sir Anthony Dominguez, let's say, is not getting it done. Then we have to find another option. And out of nowhere, options come. And you just have to be courageous enough to say, we need this guy to go get 3 outs in the 9th inning. Let's see if he can do it. That's what the postseason is all about. Every rule, everything you went by during the regular season simply doesn't apply in October.
Okay, I want to try to pose this to you, and I realize it's probably not an easy one. And I gave it to Buck Showalter recently, and he did give me a thoughtful answer. A lot of us have said, hey, like the Rangers last year are the evidence of you just need to get in, right? Like that's baseball now. Just get in and let the chips fall where they may. But Tim, do you have like a checklist of if you were a team, these would be the things that you'd want to have? Like you'd want to go in knowing I can check these 3 boxes about my team once I get into the playoffs, and I'm going to feel really good about no matter how I got there, no matter how many wins I had, wild card, got to go on the road, whatever it is. Are there like 2 to 3 things that you would really want to have going for you as you got into the playoffs to have a good chance at winning the World Series?
Yeah, of course. You have to have somebody who can get 3 outs in the 9th inning, which we just talked about.
Yeah.
And it might be anybody, whoever it is. You've got to have somebody that you can trust on the road in a really difficult environment to get the final 3 outs without being, afraid out there or whatever.
To the point,
You also have
if I could, it doesn't have to be someone who's done it all season long necessarily.
No,
it just
as long as he can do it in October, that's all that matters.
Yep.
You have to have a starting pitcher, which we've talked about, Corbin Burns, who you can throw on an enemy mound in Game 1 or Game 7 and say, we have a legitimate chance to win this game because this guy is great. And in today's day and age where you see unbelievable stuff and pitching on a nightly basis, you have to find a way to score runs. And I know that sounds obvious, but those great Braves teams that only won 1 World Series in all those years with all that great pitching, part of the problem was they didn't score enough runs. And somebody's going to have to hit the ball out of the ballpark against a really good pitcher or 2 or 10 in October. So I need a closer, I need an ace, and I need an offense that can score runs, but score in many different ways, not just hitting out of the ballpark, but creating runs somehow, some way.
Based on that standard, if I were the Baltimore Orioles, I would say maybe, right? Like maybe they have. Like we think they've got an ace. We think they're capable of scoring runs, and maybe Sir Anthony Dominguez is going to be that guy. That's sort of where I would be feeling about that checklist.
Right, but it's the same checklist with the Yankees.
Yep.
They're not sure what they're doing in the 9th inning. Clay Holmes has blown 10 saves this year. Tell me a team that doesn't have a maybe right now. That's the beauty of baseball in 2024. Every team now has a weakness that you look at and say, well, what if that doesn't work out? Well, if that doesn't work out, they might not get to and win the World Series. Every team has that. That's why no team, I think at the moment, has even 80 wins yet. And maybe no one's going to win 100 games this year. That's the beauty of the evenly matched group that we see at the top of the standings these days.
So let me kind of wrap with that, Tim. Why is there such significant parity in baseball? Is it that some of the teams that had previously spent wildly chose not to spend? Is it the pitching injuries? Like what is the biggest to you reason why we've had this almost unprecedented season of parity within baseball?
Yeah, it's both of those reasons, and it's more. It's, again, I hate to repeat myself, it's the beauty of baseball. When you put the ball in Michael Jordan's hands, every single offensive possession, you are almost guaranteed of things happening. When you get it to Steph, KD, and Klay Thompson, and they're going good, and they touch it on every possession, you have a good idea what's going to happen. Baseball, you really have no idea what's going to happen from day to day. And that is what makes it so fascinating. We're going to get to October, and we're not going to have a really good idea at all who's the best team in baseball. And that's what makes this season especially so fascinating to me.
Yeah, there's no Patrick Mahomes that can come break our hearts in Baltimore, which we kind of like. We prefer it that way. With the pitching injuries in mind, the idea of the 6th inning thing, do you think that's actually going to happen?
I don't.
Okay.
I am in favor of returning the value of the starting pitcher to the game. Look, Glenn, I'm 67 years old. I grew up with Palmer against Koufax in the World Series and Gibson against Lonborg and Gibson against Denny McLain. Those days don't exist anymore, and it's sad to me because That's why you watch two of the best pitchers in baseball aren't just going to pitch. They're going to pitch in the World Series, and they're both going 9 innings. Well, I can't see a scenario at the moment where it's hard and fast, 6 innings, you have to go, unless there's 4 earned runs or 100 pitches or an injury. We have tied our managers' hands enough as it is with the current rules that we have. We can't tell them, oh, you don't have any choice in this. Your guy's got to go 6 innings. Sorry, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, it just feels manufactured. Like, there's 2 outs in the 5th inning and a guy's sitting at 97 pitches and laboring, but you're not allowed to do anything about it. Like,
right. Look, I just got back from the Little League World Series, which was sensational. But there's a pitch count rule there that if you've thrown 85 pitches, you can't face the next batter. That should not, and it's great for Little League.
Yes, they're children.
Those
right.
kids, but it should not be happening in the big leagues.
Yeah, 100%. Let's do everything in our power to protect kids. We should probably talk about it at the college level, for example, where some guys are being told to throw 1 billion pitches. But yeah, at the major leagues, I just can't see it. All right, Tim Kurkjian, you want to plug the podcast? Yeah, the podcast. I talk for a living.
Yeah, is this a great game or what? It's coming out tomorrow. It's every Tuesday. It's my son Jeff and I. It's playful. It's joyful. It's respectful. We laugh most of the way through it. No heavy lifting. No, no hot takes. We just have a great guest every week. We enjoy. We have a lot of fun, and we go through a lot of baseball stuff. So it's been the highlight of my professional career is working with my son on this,
really
and
neat.
It's been absolutely tremendous for me.
As always, Kurkjian_ESPN on Twitter is how you follow him. Tim Kurkjian, always appreciate you taking the time for us. Thanks so much for doing this morning.
My pleasure, Glenn. Thank you.
Tim Kurkjian with us here on GCR. It still feels purgatory. Like, even as the Orioles had, like, 2 of their best moments of the season, it still feels purgatorial today. Like, it still feels like we're just sitting there, like, but we can't really get fired up because it's not really worth getting fired up about. It's still a 500 series. It's still...
Because if you go over the 3 things that he laid out and you look at the past week, they have none of those.
Well,
the past week may be a close? No, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you only looked at it through the prism of 1 week, you'd be 100% right. You'd say, well, they don't... Now, if you looked at it through the prism of this weekend, you'd say, well, they might have a closer. But if you looked at it for the prism of a week, you'd say, nope, there's no closer here. What are you doing? Maybe by the end of September we would feel comfortable about Sir Anthony Dominguez. And in fairness, the 2 games they lost last week, neither one of them were save situations, for what it's worth.
Right. So he
wasn't
a closer.
He didn't blow a save. I know it sounds nutty to say it that way, and it will come up when we do 3 up and 3 down. Like, Sir Anthony Dominguez ain't on my list because he didn't blow a save last week. That didn't happen. It's a different conversation. Do they have an offense? Do they have a group of guys that might be capable of putting together that stretch where they look like a real offense again? Yes. But you feel like you're going in rolling the dice, not feeling confident. I just don't know. Like, if you were in New York, you would say, well, we definitively have the offense. That's how you would feel today. But do you definitively feel like you've got a closer? Not a chance in hell. No way, man. You can't possibly feel that way. You think you've got an ace. Like, you think you do, but it's sort of like the way that the Orioles think they have an ace, too. Like, if you said to anybody else in baseball, do the Orioles have an ace? They'd be like, yeah, Corbin Burns. Then you'd be like, right, but have you seen a pitch the last couple of weeks? And they'd be like, dude, it's Corbin Burns. Shut up. Because we've seen it recently, we're like, we think. Like, we think there's, I think so. Maybe. On the flip side, the totality of what we've seen from Garrett Cole since he came back this season, you'd say, maybe, but he, of late, has looked a lot more like Garrett Cole. Oh, wow, he's only given up 3 earned runs in his last 4 starts total. Yeah, he looks a lot more like Garrett Cole.
One of those was against the Rockies, right?
No, he didn't start against the Rockies.
Play against the Rockies. Okay.
Toronto, Texas, Detroit, Cleveland. He had 6 shutout innings, 1 hit against. 5 walks though. Well, that's weird.
He sucks.
It's very un-Garrett Cole-like. It's very odd. But they think that they've got some of those boxes checked. All right, we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. We come back in. We're going to catch up with a Maryland football legend. Vernon Davis has a new book out. It's called Playing Ball. We'll talk to him about it next. It's Glenn Clark Radio. Experience the thrill of the Mars Maryland 5-Star at Fair Hill, presented by Brown Advisory, coming October 17th to the 20th. See the world's best equestrians compete in the sport of eventing, the ultimate test of horse and rider. Enjoy a weekend festival featuring locally sourced food at the Fresh Food Fest, a beer, wine, and spirits showcase, shopping, and fun for all ages. Check out the Maryland Corgi Cup, interactive kids corner, and more. It's the place to be in October. Visit maryland5star.us for tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses make golf fun and affordable. All 5 local courses, Pine Ridge, Mount Pleasant, Forest Park, Carroll Park, and Clifton Park, are challenging and fun for players of all skill levels. Book your tee time today at classic5golf.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
There he is, Agent 00 Chicken. Nothing can keep him from Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Because right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box for just $8 with a portion of each sale donated to a local charity. Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller, but it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Bo Smolka profiles Ravens star safety Kyle Hamilton, detailing his path from growing up the son of a basketball player to choosing football, being overlooked in the draft, and turning into a defensive unicorn as a playmaking Swiss Army knife in the NFL. Also inside, meet college football players from all of the area's D1 programs and some of the area's college soccer standouts as well. PressBox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCRs, continue along on a Monday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles, Ross Grimsley, Luke Jackson getting together later today. Talk about all of the same things, but they'll, of course, have different perspective on it. 5 o'clock, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports is where you can watch it live. If you miss it live, see it at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video as Stan, Ross, and Luke get together to talk some baseball later today. All right, had to do this a bit earlier because of his schedule, but an opportunity to catch up with a football legend. Vernon Davis has a new book out. It's called Playing Ball. Let's talk about it right now here on GCR. Man, it's always great to have our next guest join us. We have talked to him a number of times over the years, and now we're talking to him about his brand new book, Playing Ball, which is available, and you can find it wherever you get books, and we're going to link it up on our Twitter account, @GlennClarkRadio. He is a Maryland and NFL legend. The great Vernon Davis is back with us now here on GCR. Vernon, it's Glenn. It's great to see you, man. I'll still never be able to call you Duke. I just hope you understand that's how it goes. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Vernon, I'm really excited. I was able to spend a lot of time with the book last night. As you might understand, I was skipping around a little bit. I definitely dove into the Maryland chapter, and a couple things that jumped out at me as I was reading the book. One, maybe I didn't even think about the timing with when Mike Locksley had left. Was there any doubt in your mind, despite being a DC kid and wanting your grandparents to be able to watch you play? Was there ever any doubt in your mind that maybe you should be going somewhere else besides Maryland once Coach Locks left?
No. Yeah, I never really had doubt. I've always been, once I committed to Maryland, I committed to Maryland. I wanted to stay next to my grandmother and my siblings. It was important to me to be able to stay home because just the love and care I have for my family. I've always been a big family guy, and it meant the world to me to be able to be here because I always said to myself, if I stay here now, when I leave, I'll end up leaving once I get drafted, and I'll be able to come back. So I knew I was going to be able to leave and go somewhere else at some point.
You, it's funny remembering it, right? Because I of course, obviously remember that first season and the Gator Bowl and you guys trouncing West Virginia. But then your greatest successes coming at a time where Maryland, maybe had a little bit lesser quarterback play. I don't want to take anything away from your guys. I know you spoke very highly of them. But did you ever have any, regret about man, I could have been winning titles somewhere. I could have been out there being a game changer somewhere else.
Aha. No. I never had any thought like that. To me, it was all just taking it in stride and taking it one day at a time. And I knew that the future was always going to be right, regardless of what was happening in my life or what was going to happen. I've always, optimism was on my side. And I knew that. So I just took it one at a time.
You went through a lot of adversity, right? You talk about, obviously, growing up. There was a lot of adversity for you growing up. There was adversity at Maryland and just you guys struggling to win games those last couple of seasons. And clearly those first couple of years in San Francisco, there was some adversity. What did you learn from how did those years and that adversity that you faced most shape you as a man, the player that we ultimately got to know and now the well-rounded, incredible human being that you have become in your life?
Yeah. Anytime you have trial and tribulations, that's always gonna. It either cost you to fall and not get back up, or it'll cost you to elevate. And in my life, with the wonderful people that I've had in my corner, like my grandparents, I was always taught to get back up and elevate. And I know I wanted to succeed badly. And in order for me to succeed, I had to be a great human being. I had to listen, learn from my mistakes, and always be patient and know that regardless of where I was in life, that everything was always going to be better.
He is Maryland legend Vernon Davis. He's with us on GCR. The book is Playing Ball. Vernon, you mentioned those things, and I think for so many people, and I'll tell you, man, it almost moved me to tears reading the open that Coach Singletary wrote and then reading what you wrote about that experience. What did it mean to you to have him write the foreword to the book and your willingness to be open about how that moment changed you as a person, as a player? Was that something that was cathartic for you to be able to explain to people within the book?
No, it wasn't, because I had mixed feelings about it initially when it first happened. And it's normal, especially when you're a young guy, with a young person in general, and you're growing and your brain is still developing. At the time, I didn't know. I thought he was wrong. But the whole time I was wrong. I was the one that needed to get better. If he needed to change anything about the way he handled it for himself, that's on him. But for me, I thought he did a wonderful job because whatever he did moved me in a way that allowed me to be able to get better as a human being and as a football player. So that's where I was. So when people read this book, they can kind of see that you're only human. So you're going to you may have a perspective, a different perspective today, but tomorrow that perspective can change based on wisdom and knowledge of what's actually going on, what's happening in any given moment.
I think what was powerful, man, was that, like, you talking about how you knew every word of the post-game press conference. Like, you knew it never – you didn't bury it. You didn't put it away. Like, it stayed with you. Again, I think it'd be easy for a lot of people to say, hey, that was a low moment for me. I don't ever want to think about it again, right? But how were you able – and I know he mentioned that, like, your grandmother played a role in that too. How were you able to take something that could have been such a low moment and channel it in a way that became – I feel like this is a life lesson that a lot of us – I'm 40 now, and I probably still don't handle criticism the way that I need to handle it. How were you able to do that and to channel it and to not make you sick about it or say, I'll never want to hear that again, but instead literally to remember every word of it?
Love and patience. I think love and patience allow you to be able to be the bigger man and face moments like that. When you're equipped with the tools you need to be able to navigate through life, then you can do anything. You can do anything. You learn that arguments, disputes, these things they're just things, just there, just lingering around. But it's not that serious. It's really not that serious. It can be handled in the most professional way possible. And when I say professional, I mean like in a way where it's almost as if nothing even happened because of how you approached whatever it was. You know, it's just one of those things. And I think sometimes people can take things out of proportion and just allow it to affect them in such a negative way. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. I mean, it's beautiful, man. Like, as a man, like, it's beautiful. And you open it up about, like, sharing tears and stuff like that. Like, you know, we as men, we are not good about these things, man. We like to hide it. I'm grateful for the fact that you were willing to open up and talk about those moments in your life. And I really would encourage everybody to pick up Playing Ball, not just to read about that, but, like, that in particular I think is really powerful for everyone. I read the chapter about the first trip to the Super Bowl. And I know obviously for you, you were able to get back and you're able to win one, and that probably takes some of the sting away. But it was a great moment for everybody here in Baltimore, the first one. Do you still suffer through, like, what should have been for you guys when you got the ball back there in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think about it sometimes. I just think, what if we would have done this versus that? But you can't go back and change the hands of time. All it does is hurt, causes pain when you think about it. Because you can't change it. Sometimes I wish I could change things. And sometimes I wish I'm glad I can't change things. It's amazing how the mind works and how we see things sometimes. But I always know you're supposed to be grateful for everything that happens to you in life.
Do you think that, you know, when you say that, like, that you needed to go through that experience, the heartbreak of, like, losing a Super Bowl, being in a big game, something like that?
Yeah, I think so. For some guys, I can say that for myself because I probably can't speak for everyone because, like, had I won then it wouldn't. The appreciation. Life is all about appreciation. How much do you appreciate something? Right.
Yeah.
We can easily take things for granted. And I think we do that. I know we do that all the time. But when you're able to face a moment like I faced in the Super Bowl where we were that close and we almost won, it hurts like hell. But then you go on a few years later and you actually win it.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Denver, I won the Super Bowl. I won Super Bowl 50. Three years later. You know how much the amount of appreciation I have for that is much more powerful than it would have been if I won Super Bowl 47.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
Those kind of things, they move you, man. They move you in such an amazing way. All that time, that gap I had in between 47, Super Bowl 47, Super Bowl 50, it did something to me. It did something beautiful to me, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it at all. I'm just elated that I had the opportunity to be able to play in Super Bowl 47.
Sure,
that's good enough for me.
You know what's really wild is like reading in that chapter. It almost wasn't really about like the pain, like the joy of the experience came through, which is wild to me because like I would think that you would associate losing a Super Bowl in a close way with pain, but like the next page or two was just about how grateful you were for the experience and being in New Orleans and having gone through it. Which is something you don't hear a lot of guys talking about games that you lost, particularly in such heartbreaking fashion.
Yeah, it's the little things. It's the little things. You have to be grateful for all the little things. But how can you get the bigger things if you're not grateful for the little things, right? Because we're not, like I tell everyone, we don't have an expiration date in life. There's no expiration date. I didn't even have to be here to play in that game. Right, you learn from the ones. The beauty. The other thing that we have is we have people that we really care about. They're here and they're gone the next. Right. If you haven't experienced death in your family or friends, you're going to experience it at some point in your life, and it's a beautiful thing. If you can stay around 90 to 100 years and see all of these people that you used to know, right, go before you. Right, you never really want to go. Leave, but it's a beautiful thing because it does something to us. Death is a part of life, and that's what we don't understand. It's interesting when people come to me and they say, "I'm sorry for your loss." It's almost if people say it as if they're not going to be in that same space one day. And you know, I appreciate it, and I show my condolence and my compassion for people as well. But we have to just understand that, you know, life is so short. So the time that we do have here, we have to really, really be thankful and for those little things and understand that everything is a privilege and an honor.
That's awesome. The book is Playing Ball. He is Vernon Davis. Just another couple of minutes with him here on GCR. Vernon, a couple things that I wanted to cover with you. One, because you talked about Coach Friedgen and Coach Richleski, obviously, in the Maryland chapter. The College Football Hall of Fame has nominated Coach Friedgen the last couple of years, and he has not quite gotten through. And I feel like a lot of people look at his career and say, well, you know, he's never a national champion or anything like that. You know, from having growing up watching Maryland, right, which you alluded to a lot in the book, that was not a place where you were going to be winning championships, right? Like, that wasn't Maryland football. Do you feel like Coach Friedgen has gotten the credit he deserves for what he was able to accomplish? And how much would you like to see him get that recognition of the College Football Hall of Fame?
I think Coach Friedgen deserves the recognition to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. I mean, his track record, he's proven. He showed that he's all about football. Football was his life. I mean, that man, I used to watch him standing there with a whistle, and he would see 10 plays at one time. I thought that was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. When someone dedicates and gives so much of their life to something like that, even if they don't win a championship, but they've shown that they can win, and they can get a group of men to rally behind them and play the game that they love. Like he's giving back in so many different ways. And just him being around his essence, his character, his personality, his spirit. He was an amazing football coach and an amazing person. He loved his guys. He cared about them. He put me in a position to have success and be able to go on and get drafted as a 6th pick in the first round.
So you bring that up, and I noticed it a couple times in the book when you're talking about a Hall of Famer and that possibility for you. Do you feel like you've gotten the credit? You changed the position. Like you reference where you went in the draft. We use words like freak, and you know I see your name up in the weight room at Maryland. Like I know what an athletic freak you truly were. Do you feel like you have gotten the credit you deserve for how you kind of changed what a tight end was in modern football those years ago?
I feel like I've never gotten the credit. I think the only time I've gotten the credit when it was time for me to go to, I don't know. I don't know. I've always been the underdog all my life. I just continue to work. I felt like I was always the best at everything I put my foot in. Like when I was playing football, I knew for a simple fact that I was the best player on that football field. I knew I was the fastest football player on that field. I knew all of that. And every level I went to, from high school, college to the pros, I knew that no one could touch me. No one could touch me. I've always believed that. From 22 to 36, I've always believed that. And that's something nobody can take away from you now. As far as like the critics and everyone who has something to say or their votes or whatever they put me in, that's for them. I don't really worry about that. I just continue to keep doing what I'm doing and know that I put my best foot forward.
I think Maryland fans are going to love you talking about your relationship with Sean Merriman. Like that one, obviously we knew you were contemporaries, but how there was an iron sharpens iron thing that was going on there and what that meant for both of you moving forward in your careers.
Yeah, Sean Merriman was a great football player. In practice, he used to wear me out. He was tough. He was a tough competitor to go against. He was extremely tough. And it was great playing with him at Maryland. The short time that I had with him, because I know he got drafted early. But it was cool. It was cool having him. He really pushed me and motivated me, helped me to get to where I am in life at the moment. So I applaud him and I give him some of the credit for being an inspiration and being such a good competitor, giving me something to work with.
And then I'll wrap with Coach Locks, because I know how important he is to you and to your whole family, despite the fact that, as we pointed out, right, like he had left before you got there. Can you explain to people that still don't get it with why he is revered in a way that is so different than your average football coach as a human being? Can you explain to folks in this area what makes Coach Locks different than maybe your typical kind of like used car salesman football coach type that you might run into?
Yeah, to me, Mike Locksley has a unique he has unique perspective. He has great character and personality. It really relates to a lot of the guys in that locker room, players in general. He's a great recruiter, not just a great recruiter, but a great coach. He has the ability to get the guys to rally behind him, like a lot of great coaches. And I think that's one of the things that I loved about him a lot. I know a lot of players now, all the players that he had an opportunity to recruit and coach, they love that about him. So he's just great. He's just really good at what he does.
Vernon Davis. The book, again, is Playing Ball, and you can pick it up right now at Amazon. We've linked it up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. I know you're a busy man. When you're not writing books, you're involved in movies. What else do you have going on these days, man?
Yeah, the book I have, I got the farm that I'm running, DHG, Equestrian. I have a podcast that I'm working on at the moment. Also, a film coming out with Steven Spielberg's daughter. Phew. It's called Please Don't Feed the Children. And then there's a movie that's coming out pretty soon that I was in. I had the great pleasure of playing in. It's called Plan B. That movie just it's about to get released pretty soon. So there's a lot of great things happening. I'm excited. I'm excited for the partners I have, like Smirnoff. Smirnoff has been a great brand that I've partnered with. I mean, there's nothing like that brand. That's such an amazing brand, man. And I just want to give them a shout out for everything they've been able to do for me and my family. And another great partnership with Fox, my Fox family, KFC.
Imagine going back and telling like 4-year-old Vernon Davis, little Duke, growing up in D.C., that this was going to be your life, like a legendary football career, and then making movies and partnering with some of the biggest brands. Like what would 4-year-old, what would that kid growing up in D.C. have said then?
Making movies, partnering with some of the biggest brands. Wow. That sounds crazy to me.
Right.
I'm thinking even as a kid and right now, that still sounds crazy because I'm so. Look, I walk through life. I get up in the morning. I feel like I don't have any. I feel like I haven't done anything. I feel like I haven't. I don't see. I can see it, but I can't feel it. I don't have the feeling of. I don't have the feeling. I don't feel like I played in the NFL for 14 years. I don't feel like I made movies. I don't feel like I'm partnering with Smirnoff. I don't feel it. I can see those things, but I can't feel it. You know what I mean? It's just, I can't feel it. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I can't. I don't know how to feel it. I guess that's a good thing because it allows me to get up with motivation and intent.
Right.
Allows me to attack each day unknown.
Hey, man, Vernon Davis, I really have enjoyed reading the book, man. I'm so glad you decided to do this, and can't wait to see everything that's next for you, bro. Thank you for taking the time for us, as always. And as always, go Terps.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
That's Vernon Davis. Very thoughtful stuff. And, again, the book is called Playing Ball. It's available right now. We linked it up on our Twitter account at Glenn Clark Radio for you to dive in. Some really fascinating stuff going back to his days in Maryland, and then the stuff, his relationship with Mike Singletary, and of course the famous, can't win with him, can't do it press conference that, exploded in the early days that something could go viral. Really incredible one. It was Mike Singletary who wrote the foreword to the book. So just some very fascinating stuff. All right, we got a couple of minutes here before we chat with Ken Zalis. Why don't we go 3 up and 3 down?
3 up and 3 down.
3 up and 3 down is brought to you by County Sports Zone. A high school sports season is officially underway. Saw St. Francis opened up with a win this weekend. You can find all of the results, all of the scores for every sport, everywhere in the state, every level. CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Get us your 3 up and 3 down. 3 players deserving of praise, 3 players deserving of scorn. Someone who sends us theirs at Glenn Clark Radio is going to win a $50 gift card to the Costas Inn. I would highly encourage you to put it towards a crab tower. Yeah. But I, of course, like everything at the Costas Inn, including, to me, the best cream of crab soup in Baltimore. CostasInn.com in order for you to find out more. Look, number 3 on my 3 up list probably doesn't actually deserve to be on the 3 up list for the week. He went 4 for 27. He had a 577 OPS. But he did hit a pretty significant grand slam. Anthony Santander is number 3 because of that.
Oh, okay. Tony, not on my list.
It's a struggle.
The first thing you mentioned.
There weren't enough people that did so many significantly good things that I had to default to the single most significant thing that happened this week.
Yeah.
Is good enough to get you on the list.
Dean Kramer was my number 3 for the 2 quality starts, and frankly, Tuesay's start they needed that from him.
Well, yeah, Tuesday
was
great. Yesterday or last night was meh, but
yeah. And by the letter of the law still says it's a quality start, and those are fewer and further between for this rotation.
Dean Kramer's
give him a chance to win.
He's my number 2, and I don't pretend things are what they aren't. Last night, Dean Kramer wasn't great, but he battled, and particularly after things went sideways, he regrouped, and for a moment there, you thought you're gonna have to go get him. And then you're going to have another night where you're going to have to go deep into a bad bullpen. But he responded, and he deserves credit for that. And as you pointed out, the first start was really good. So for the totality, it still ends up being 12 innings and 4 earned runs and a 1.17 whip over the totality of the 2 starts. So Dean Kramer's number 2 on my list.
I guess this is probably the one you have a problem with. Colton Cowser is my number 2 on the list. He was still significant offensively, and that was a big. I still give it a big moment. Getting Holiday to the plate on Saturday. And beating that out, he was the only guy consistently feeling.
He wasn't bad. He definitely wasn't bad. There's no argument about that. he wasn't so good that demanded it, and it's a very tricky thing, right? Like I appreciate his effort on that play. I really do. But like it's a huge but that comes along with it. All that being said, it's not an abomination that he's on your list, and
leading the team in hits was
enough
for the week.
Like that, it was 6. Like it's not like he
7.
was.
He had 7, I think.
7?
Yeah.
I thought he had 6.
When he had 4 in New York, he had 3 this weekend.
You sure?
Yeah. He looked good, and he looked much better in the Mets series. Just his at bats looked better. Well, actually, he did strike out a lot in New York too. Yeah, it was Thursday. Thursday night was his worst night.
He didn't have a great week. He was productive. It's not worth fighting about. It's not worth fighting about. It's not like you've done way dumber things. It's fine.
No.
Look, the one guy that actually was really good was Ramon Urias. Ramon Urias is number 1 for the week, and yep, he still threw a ball away, and they gave up a run because of it. And I'm not trying to pretend like Ramon Urias is proving that he's an everyday third baseman for a good major league team, but
it was just that kind of week.
It was that kind of week, and I
timely hits.
I can't believe we're saying this sentence, but where would the 2024 Orioles be without the second half they've gotten from Ramon Urias?
Yeah, it's a shame they couldn't win either game with some big game-tying home runs this week.
Yep.
But yeah, Ramon's my number 1 as well.
3 down list, number 3, Birch Smith. That was fun while it lasted. It's over. I got nothing else to say. It was a whole lot of fun while it lasted. I mean, he can still throw the ball really hard. He's got that going for him. But that thing where we were putting him in the A bullpen and like how dare you take Birch Smith out of this game? Yeah, those days are over.
Yeah, he was always found money, and even though his stats were probably the worst on the week of anyone, he's still just going to be number 3 just because
Well,
he started pitching like Birch Smith suddenly.
Number 2 for me is Corbin Burns. It ain't good. There's no way around it, and compounded by his own defensive troubles. This is not a good defensive team. This is just not good. Corbin Burns is number 2.
Yeah, he was my number 2 as well, and just because of the expectations that come with him being Corbin Burns, Trevor Rogers, and Povich were terrible too. But I don't know.
They're not Corbin Burns, right?
Yeah,
I get
they're
it.
not Corbin Burns.
Yep,
So
that's the reason.
Burns
that's
is number 2.
Jackson Holiday does not get a spot on the list because again,
yeah,
he went 1 for 20, but it was a big one.
Pitch hit spot too.
It was a big one.
It was gnarly.
Ryan O'Hearn is number 1 on the lists. I didn't even notice that Ryan O'Hearn hadn't homered since July 20th. Yeah, it's rough. 1 for 14 last week. Just bad.
Yeah,
Ryan
I
O'Hearn's
mean,
number 1.
with Mountcastle unavailable, like this is we're starting to expect things from Ryan O'Hearn, and he was
starting to.
And he was
Ryan O'Hearn delivered. He was one of the good players on this team for a while.
And he did nothing. Even I know there was a lefty on the mound yesterday, but how do we get to the point where we're starting Emmanuel Rivera over Ryan O'Hearn?
Well, I mean, that is your answer as to why that's the case, but I mean, it's rough, just rough at the moment. All right, we'll get that up at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. 3 up and 3 down for the week. And get us yours, of course. You can win a $50 gift card to Costas Inn. That's all you got to do is write 6 names. That's it. That's the entirety of what you have to do. I would love it if you shared a thought, but you don't have to. All you got to do is write 6 names, send it to us at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, and you can win that $50 gift card to Costas Inn. Again, 3 up and 3 down, and we will post it glennclarkradio.com here in a bit. I was going to take a break, but I just realized it's 11:14, so we won't do that. We'll go right into oh, you know what? Much more important. You can do whatever you want to do. Tennis started.
Oh, cool. Do whatever I want?
Tennis started. I no longer.
Oh, the U.S. Open already started.
Started.
Okay.
It's underway.
So
you can do whatever you want. Honest to God, whatever. If you've wanted to get something in, if you've had a thing.
It was actually a pretty good UFC card over the weekend.
Sure it was.
Which on paper it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, ended up actually kind of that seems like they finally get to the point where it's like, oh, this is actually the worst card the UFC has ever put out in the Apex. And had some pretty exciting finishes. So that was nice.
Man, that was awesome. So anyway.
Who we care about today?
Well, Francis plays tonight, so
Okay.
obviously we care about that. There's a fun one. It's not really relevant to start us off on the noon match because they don't start on Arthur Ashe until noon on each day, I guess, because I don't know. I think the TV broadcast doesn't start until noon. They do like an hour on ESPN Plus, and then they start the TV broadcast at noon. But Ben Shelton plays Dominic Thiem first up on Arthur Ashe today, and I get that, like, you would say, why would I care? Ben Shelton is an American that we believe has a chance to break through and be competitive against real players, and he's made semifinal. Like, he's looked really good. Dominic Thiem technically is a former champion, although injuries, he fell apart after that. What's going on with Ken? Do you want me? Can I take a break?
No, I mean, I'm sure he's fine.
Are you sure?
I mean,
I never know with him. Coco Gauff, Sloane Stephens are both on Arthur Ashe Stadium today, and Novak Djokovic plays tonight. Taylor Fritz, Matty Keys play on Louis Armstrong Stadium, and that's where Francis Tiafoe will be tonight as he takes on another American named Alexander Kovacevic. So that's what's happening on day one of the U.S. Open. That's what's getting my attention. And frankly, if Ken Zalis doesn't post, it just means I watch more tennis. That's the way that it goes, and I'm not going to be angry. All right, we'll grab a break. Maybe we'll come back and talk. Boy, what a way to kick off Fantasy Week. Maybe KZ next. Glenn Clark Radio.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday, and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion, and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling, and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
We've all experienced it before. The fantasy football draft from hell. Your buddy says you can do it at his house, but he never asks his wife. She's screaming at him the whole time and forces you guys to sit outside in the unforgiving heat. Then everyone brings the exact same store-bought 7-layer dip, and somehow you accidentally draft someone named LeVar Jackson because your brain can't function in these circumstances. Don't cop out and just move your draft online this year. Let Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel handle everything for you. Book your draft party complete with your choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, drinks, and custom draft kits for the whole league, plus a custom trophy for your champion and a $75 gift card for the commish. Visit PressBoxOnline.com/social. That's PressBoxOnline.com/social, and never have a fantasy draft from hell again.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Frederick Keys Baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit FrederickKeys.com today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at driveeasymd.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR. Let's try this again. We're kicking off Fantasy Week. Every day this week, we're going to do fantasy football coverage. This is fantasy football draft weekend. If you've done it before now, you're doing it wrong. I've told this man this many times. He's Ken Zalis. I believe he's still with Fantasy Pros, but maybe he'll tell me he's retired. I don't know what's going on with you. You didn't have another heart attack, right?
No, I'm not with anybody.
What are you doing? Like,
nothing. Literally nothing.
Stop. You're going to do that for 5 minutes.
Literally, all I do is there are 2 people in the world that can call me at this point.
No, stop.
And you happen to be one of them.
In 5 minutes,
So
when you change your mind and you're doing something again.
No, you said I know I've done that. I've done that. So whatever I say is
Brett
BS at this
Favre
point.
thinks your retirements are laughable. Stop.
Okay. I'm not. I play. That's all I can tell you is I play. And if somebody asks me a question, I will tell them my honest opinion. But other than that, you can't find my rankings anywhere. I will not write an article this year. I'm not doing anything. It's lovely.
Why do we have this guy on?
Yeah, I was going to say we'll see in week
I
6.
said that when you all contacted me. I said call somebody else. Goes, you want you? I was like, okay, I can make shit up.
I didn't know you were going to do the bit where you're going to say, I don't care about any of this. I don't know who the players are anymore.
No, I highly care. I have a keeper auction draft tomorrow night, which is so much fun that I can't wait.
So tell me something then. I don't know what we want to talk about with you now. I have no idea how I feel about any of this. Tell me why everybody's still so enamored with Josh Allen, despite the fact that he doesn't have any wide receivers.
Well, because of his legs, and because he's essentially, since he's been in the league, been the goal line back for them. And, they're going to throw the ball 40-plus times a game. So fantasy football isn't about success. Fantasy football is about opportunity. And just by opportunity and the number of plays that he's going to be rushing the ball and the number of times he's going to be throwing the ball, regardless of who his wide receivers are, he's going to put up numbers. He does have one of the best tight ends in football in Kincaid. He's got serviceable guys in Shakir and Samuels, and they'll figure it out. So he's the top quarterback. I still wouldn't take a quarterback in a one-quarterback lead until at least the 3rd round.
That's my I can't even imagine taking him. This is we talk a lot about the depth of quarterback. Like I've been doing. Last week I finally got I realized I didn't know anything about fantasy football a week ago, so I decided to start doing some mock drafts. And I'm looking at like the end of drafts at Jared Goff being available. And
quarterbacks like in our home leagues, most of the times people get enamored with quarterbacks. You can get Brock Purdy, you can get Jared Goff, you can get Trevor Lawrence, you can get Matthew Stafford, all guys that are going to put up massive numbers very late in your draft. And it's laughable that people are taking Josh Allen anywhere before the 3rd round. I see him going in the 1st round all the time, and it's like, okay, your running backs are now going to suck.
But I asked genuinely, is it worth taking him in the 3rd round?
You look at him, and how many times out of 17, I got to go 17, I'll never get used to it, 17 weeks did Josh Allen last year score above what he was expected to score? And the matter of the fact is that number is 11, and that's pretty good. So, he didn't disappoint early on, and he did put up a ton of points. So in the 3rd round, if you have a keystone running back, a keystone wide receiver, I'm not against Josh Allen there. But you got to play the game. It's like, how many more points does Josh Allen score than maybe, C.J. Stroud this year, and who you can get 2 or 3 rounds later. And that's the game you got to play with the quarterback. It's hard to pass up Josh Allen for me in the 3rd round because he puts up more numbers than anybody else at the quarterback position.
I don't think I could do it, man. I really don't think I could do it.
And again, it depends on your league. Again, you got. There was a person that called me who I've been dealing with for a long time, and he's like, "Should I keep Lamar Jackson as a keeper, and I said, well, go back to your list. And I said, how many more points and who's your other quarterback? He goes, my other quarterback was Jared Goff. I said, okay, how many more points did Lamar Jackson in your league score over Jared Goff? And he said 37. And I said, but you could get Jared Goff for a 10th round pick, and Lamar's costing you a third. I'm taking Jared Goff every time, and that sounds nuts to most people, but that's how you have to play this game. It's about points, and it's about rounds, and it's about things like that. And where can I get the advantage over everybody else? Taking a quarterback in round 1 or round 2 is a negative thing most leagues for fantasy players, because now you're where you have to start 2 running backs, at least 2 wide receivers, have to start a tight end. You now have a worse player in those positions that's a bigger gap than the gap is at the quarterback position. And you just got to look at it that way. I don't like taking quarterbacks until at least the 9th round in fantasy football leagues.
Ken Zalis from I Don't Give an S is with us here on GCR as we kick off Fantasy Week. So let's go to tight ends then. Where is that conversation relevant? Because when I did these exercises last week, it became very different. I'm doing a 14-team league for the first time ever. My neighbor has suckered me into a 14-team league. And so I did a 14-team mock draft, and all of a sudden, one of the things I was saying to Griffin as I was doing these exercises is dude, I can still get Evan Ingram in the 7th round. I'm good. I don't need to be in a rush to get a tight end.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden I do this 14-team league, and I try to play the same game, and I'm like, oh, well, I screwed that up bigly. Where is the spot? Who has to be coming off the board for you to recognize it's time to make your move at tight end?
So before Evan Ingram goes, because you have in the top 4 for me, in whatever order you want to put them in, because we can argue about that all the time, is Laporta, Kelsey, Andrews, and McBride from Arizona. Kincaid, Pitts, and Ingram are the next group. So if if those first 4 go off, and then all of a sudden you see Kincaid and Pitts go off the board, my next pick is Evan Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where it is. Because after Evan Ingram, here are the names for me. You're George Kittle. Okay, I love George Kittle as a human being and as a football player. George Kittle's always hurt. Okay, and there's only one football there, and I don't know where he actually is in the pecking order over there. He's not the first option. He's probably not the second option. So he's automatically, for me, at the 3rd, and if I use Steins or whatever, maybe he's the 4th. But you go Kittle, and then it's Ferguson and Njoku, Goddard, Freiermuth, all these guys that are just guys, and they're all the same, and they all put up the same numbers. Now, somebody this year will emerge, but guessing who that's going to be is a crazy game for me. So Ingram, the 7th guy, you want to, whether it's Ingram, whether it's Pitts, whether it's Kincaid, those are the 5, 6, 7th. You want to be at worst the 7th team to take a tight end this year.
Well, just one more. I want to go back to quarterback for a second because I realize I'm going to likely end up being the guy that takes late quarterbacks. But there's a small part of me that wants to take a flyer on Jaden Daniels before that, right? That outside chance that he really is a game changer type. Am I insane for that thought process? And if I want to, where is the appropriate place to do that?
Insane, no. Because that's a good one to take a flyer on. What I'm going to tell everybody that wants to take, whether it be Jaden Daniels, whether it be Khalid Williams, whether it be Bo Nix, whether it be any of these rookies that are going to start.
It's not going to be Bo Nix for me. Somebody else is going to have to be.
I understand, but you get my point. If I'm going to take one of those, first of all, it's probably going to be not before round 8. Round 8 is about where I want to get that person. and I'm going to double up. I'm going to take my second quarterback very quickly, and I will wind up with a combination of Jaden Daniels and Brock Purdy, or Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff, or Jaden Daniels and Matthew Stafford, or Kirk Cousins. Give me a solid, I know they're going to be on the field, I know they're going to throw the ball 40 times type guy, and put them with Jaden Daniels, but you got to get that guy quicker than you normally would. I like that strategy. I've been using that strategy for 30 years. Give me a quarterback, two quarterbacks in the 8th through 10th rounds, and I'll take everybody else rounds 1 through 7 and be fine with it. But Jaden Daniels is we all saw what he did in college. We get the hype. We get that this is a team in Washington that may be playing from behind a lot this year. I would take him over Caleb Williams at this point in a fantasy draft. But somewhere around the 8th round is probably where you want to take him.
Rita said something yesterday. She said, names get scared when they see me coming. How did you turn Caleb Williams into Caleb Williams? I know you have a skill, but that one is.
You good. You like that? It just rolled off the tongue too.
That was brilliant. All right, let's go to running backs and wide receivers. Let's do this. I'm gonna lump two questions in together. One, I have an affinity for being the guy that takes a rookie, and I'll end up loading half my team with rookies just because, hey, I'm pretty sure these other guys suck, but I don't know yet that these guys suck. So I'm going to combine both the conversation about rookies with the conversation of where are you finding value, like the Tyjae Spears type. Like, who are the guys that aren't going to go early, either at running back or wide receiver, but you're going to find value later on in your draft when you end up taking them?
Well, I think a guy like Spears, who isn't a rookie, by the way.
I know. I just said both. I said rookies and values.
So
two things.
I think your value in the running backs comes once 24 of them are off the board, and we start to talk about value. Is Devin Singletary a value because he's the starting running back for the Giants? Is Tyjae Spears a good name to bring up? How much do we believe in Pollard? Does Spears get some run there? A guy like Jonathan Brooks, the rookie that's at Carolina, everybody hates Hubbard. I don't know. He put up pretty decent numbers for me last year. There's value there. Trey Benson out of another rookie who's at Arizona. Connor gets hurt a whole bunch. And then, the most popular guy that everybody seems to be in love with right now is Chase Brown out of Cincinnati. Moss did well in spot duty, but when he's been called on for a long period of time to be the guy, he sort of broke down a little bit, and Chase Brown has been all the talk in the preseason in Cincinnati. You're looking, 6th round for some of those guys, maybe 5th round. You got to, with everything, I could have a 6th round grade on a guy like Chase Brown, but all of a sudden in the first 3 rounds, 40 running backs go off the board. Then he goes up the board a little bit, But there's somewhere around the 6th, end of the 5th round, you can start plucking some of these guys off the board and taking some chances on some guys, J.K. Dobbins, our buddy, is a value pick probably in the 8th round this year. Who knows what's going to happen there? They have the old Ravens backfield, and, we've seen that here, and Gus is going to get the first chance, but J.K. says he's healthy. If J.K.'s healthy, he's a big value. Some of these running backs, I don't love the rookie class in running back because I don't think they play right away. Brooks and Benson are the top 2. At wide receivers, sadly, you're going to have to, if you like these guys, you're going to have to get them early because they're all going way too early. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going early in the 2nd round. Neighbors is going late in the 2nd, early in the 3rd. Everybody loves Neighbors' game. I think he's going to be a tremendous pro. I hate where he wound up. He doesn't
have a quarterback, right? Yeah.
I just don't know. But so he's going too early for me. The happy zone for the wide receivers is once 30 of them go off the board. and then you start to get into the Calvin Ridleys, Deontay Johnsons, Jaden Reed areas. If you think Xavier Worthy is going to be a thing to replace Tyreek Hill in Kansas City, he goes in that range. Brian Thomas Jr., another rookie, and Ladd McConkey, right in that fun range. After the 40th after the 35th or so wide receiver go off the board. Both of those guys should, get a lot of targets because of the wide receiver room is gone from both of those teams from last year or injured in Jacksonville's case. But my top target is McConkey. I just think he's going to be one of those target monsters in that offense. How much they throw the ball is debatable, but a lot of those targets are going to go his way.
All right, and then I'll wrap with injured guys. Who are guys that are injured right now, but, think about them, where you might take them later on in the draft?
I mean, the top guy is Chubb. He's going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season. He's gone all over the board. You got to kind of look at somewhere around the 8th round for him. I think he's a guy that, I hate the term league winner, but how else do you describe somebody that could be really effective weeks 10 through 16 for you? He's the top guy that you want to kind of just, maybe take him a round earlier if you go quarterback late and you load it up on wide receivers and running backs in your first 6 picks. I'm not against taking him in the 7th round. The scariest thing for me at the top of the draft right now is the wide receivers, because none of these guys have practiced. Lamb hasn't practiced. Chase had his first practice yesterday. Justin Jefferson, God, I feel bad for that dude. Mm-hmm. He's got no quarterback thrown to him. He's such a talent. Puka, who we all love, I especially.
But do you love him as much with Cooper Kupp on the field this season?
Well, but that's the whole thing. Everybody's going to look at, you got to, if you want Puka, you got to get him in the first round, beginning of the second round. But Cooper Kupp's there for as long as Cooper Kupp is going to be healthy. And that, the one thing I will say, when they were both healthy last year, which wasn't a lot, they both got targets. So it doesn't scare me too much, but that's just a consideration there. We all love Devontae Adams, but again, the quarterback situation, what are you going to do? It's Minshew, and for however long Minshew is there, it's not a great situation there. And then what do we do with Ayuk? And is he going to play? When's he going to play? I mean, he's a top 20 wide receiver for sure. I'm always a running back person, but I'm even more so this year because I look at that tier that's kind of outside of the top 14 wide receivers, and I start looking at Jaden Waddle and DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman and Devonta Smith and, Amari Cooper, these guys, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell. If I could get 2 of those guys in rounds 3 and 4 and I loaded up on 2 stud running backs, I feel pretty good about myself coming out of the first 4 rounds. I mean, those are high volume, stud wide receivers. A lot of them are number 1 wide receivers on their teams, especially in the case of Metcalf and Pittman, and even Amari Cooper. If you want to take that gamble there, Zay Flowers is the number 1 for his team. So I like that middle rounds. I know everybody loves the wide receivers early, and everybody says these running backs, everybody's a risk, but I see a lot more risk at early wide receivers just because of how the preseason went.
He is Ken Zalis. You can follow him nowhere. He's not doing anything, and he hates you, I believe is what he said. No, I don't hate. I love everybody. I will. Didn't he try to quit
answer
picks
any
too?
question? I will answer any question that anybody sends to me.
Well, where would they send it?
I'm on Facebook.
Oh,
I'm old.
You and 4 other boomers.
I'm on Facebook and I'm on Threads. Yeah. And you're on Threads now.
Apparently. No, here's the thing. I'm not actually on Threads. If I post something to Facebook, it goes to Threads.
Well, there you go. So you can find me on Threads. You can find me on Facebook. You can send me a message. Just understand, you can't find my rankings anymore. I assume you will be able to hear my lovely mispronouncing name voice on these airwaves.
We're doing Project Game Day again this season, so you can hang out.
We are doing Project Game Day.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me. It was funny. Somebody did ask me. He goes, "What are you doing this year?" I said, I'll still do the pick thing because that's fun. And I said, I like doing Project Game Day and figuring out when they're going to fire the head coach. So besides that, nowhere.
I can't wait. Hopefully this year, Femi will actually strangle you. Hopefully that will actually occur. All right, love you.
We have to get us all together to watch a game again. That was so much fun.
We'll work on that. Love you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Okay, no problem, guys.
Ken Zalis with us here on GCR. I did my 14 team because I'm doing this 14 team league this year. My neighbor has suckered me into that one. That one, by the way, with a heavy freight. I said yes, and then I found out the buy-in afterwards, and I said, oh. And then you've already said yes, so you don't want to be the guy that's like, actually, I'm poor. Like, I would rather not, because I did things in reverse order and said yes first. So I did my 14-team mock draft, and I had the 9th pick in that mock draft. My team is Goff, Derrick Henry, Rashad White, A.J. Brown, Zay Flowers, Kyle Pitts, Raheem Mostert, Rashee Rice, Gus Edwards, Antonio Gibson, J.K. Dobbins, Brock Bowers, and Kirk. I'm like, yeah, I still think yeah. You always feel good at this time of year. You're always convinced. Like, I did it, man. I like all of these guys. Yay, fantasy. Then 1 week into the season, you're like, who the hell picked these players? They're terrible. What kind of drunk did this? Stupid. All right. I don't know where we are with this guy. Jeremy Conn, of course, Big Bad Morning Show 105.7 The Fan, and ConcreteLocks.com, which I hear is fully operational now. He's back with us on GCR. Is that the case? You good to go?
It will be fully operational by close of business today at the latest.
The number of times you've promised me that you were fully operational, and then 2 minutes in you were like, "Oh, this never happens to me. I've never."
Yeah, well, the other part of this too that you got to bring up is like I called when you guys called me and Griffin was like, "Hey, I'm going to get you up right now."
Yeah.
He didn't realize that I was up as soon as I heard his voice.
Already up. He had to do nothing in the process.
He's over 21, right?
Yeah. You're good. I'm pretty sure age of consent is 18, Jeremy. I think you're fine. All right, so let's deal with it. Where are we in the process? What's happening?
I've reached out to several. I haven't got any responses immediately yet.
You haven't got any immediate responses?
No.
Are we to the point?
I say you just let me break it down and just do my dance.
No, here's what
Irish dance.
Would you commit to filming yourself watching YouTube videos and practicing them?
Okay. Yeah. No. Like if that's yes, I promise. Do you want me to film it that I'm watching it, or do you?
I want that so that people, because we did say that was part of it, is that you had to take a lesson, right? So.
But I thought I had to dance in front of you guys.
Oh, no,
so
you have to do that
too.
But the idea is that if you go on YouTube and watch some instructional videos and prove that you did that part, then we can check that box and you come in here and you perform what you learned.
Okay.
All right.
What I learned today.
All right. I can settle for that. I can settle for that.
I'll see if I get any responses today, and then.
All right.
And by the way, let me just say this too: if we do that, and I do the YouTube thing, and he gets a response back of somebody, I would love to take an Irish dance class. Like it's not. This isn't a punishment for me. I love this stuff.
All right. So that's step one. Step two would be, when could you do this? When could you actually do? Because we still have to get you. We need a Notre Dame mascot costume. We still need Tim from Bel Air involved, and he told me that you sent a date to him, and he was like, I don't know. So we still have to knock all this out. Can you in the next 24 hours if I take the one thing off the board and say it is not imperative that I'll let Jeremy do the YouTube lessons, can you knock the other things off the board? Can the two of you get together and you hammer them?
Yeah, I got to find a leprechaun outfit or whatever.
Yeah, but you can get that on Amazon for.
And I think I could dye. I could dye my beard orange if I had to.
Oh, I would love that. That would make me very happy.
That could be a throw-in for you guys if you want, just because.
Are you gonna offer mustache rides or not?
I mean, What do you think I am, a savage?
Right,
Of course
that's a great
I am.
point. Thank you. Thank you. You are a good human. I do appreciate that about you. All right, 24 hours. Can we knock all that out, Griffin?
Yeah.
Can you take
Have a
ownership?
date? Yeah.
All right, thank
Well, okay, yes.
you. Just it doesn't
Between
have,
me and Jeremy.
between you and Jeremy, and then take it to Tim and see if Tim's good and the whole thing. All right.
So, Glenn, the only thing that I have, so I'll tell you this, scheduling-wise, any Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, I have therapy on Tuesday, Friday, which I'm not getting out of. But if it's going to be during your show, it would have to be one of those days. But I can make any one of those days work.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, you say.
Correct.
All right. We'll work with that, and I need you to talk to Tim, Griffin. Got it? And figure out when one of those could work. We're not on next Monday, obviously, because I'm doing Jeremy's show instead. Like, that's the way that goes.
I think I'm coming in to do your show. What a weird
What? Yeah,
situation.
why would that be? Why would that be happening? Speaking of Jeremy's show, I made an appearance last Friday.
It was awesome until I got into it with some goober on social media.
Wait, what happened?
Well, the fit coach. You didn't see
Oh,
all
no,
that?
that
I
was a
gave him
different
shovel.
thing. That was a different thing. Oh, no, I know that guy.
No, that was from that. You posted that you were coming on the
Oh,
show.
is that what it
on
was?
Thursday,
Okay, all right.
And this goober writes, "Oh, tell Jeremy my buddy takes all of his picks and plays the opposite, and he won a ton of money." And I said, "Well, that's a lie."
Oh.
I said, "Show me the receipts. Show the flips. If you got
that's,
bet flips, man, I'll pat you on the back and tell you you're right."
And
then this goober got butthurt because I went back at him and started calling me a bully. I was like, "You responded to something I was tagged in, you jackass."
Oh,
But anyway.
God. I hate it when lovers quarrel. No, I know that guy. That guy's name's Bruce.
You know that guy?
He
The
works
fit coach?
he works
He
at
kicks my ass.
he works at my gym. I chat with him every day. He's believe it or not.
Will you tell him from me he can kiss my ass?
Hang on, I gotta tell you too. Yesterday we're doing the radio show, and somebody calls in, and they're on hold. And they just disappear from hold, and the kid Alex, who's producing the show, is like, "Oh, that guy didn't really want to get on the air. He just wanted me to tell you that he was offended by you saying Jesus Christ." And I said, I hit the talk back to say to Alex, I'm like, I need you, if he ever calls back in, I need you to tell him personally from me to go F himself. And you need to swear that you'll do that. I need, right now, I'm telling you, if you won't do that, then you can't produce our show. I need you
What
to
is it about
swear.
society that has to let us know that they're offended about something?
Like
all the people that had to tell us they were never watching football again. And, oh, by the
Right.
way, I'm pretty sure I've seen both.
Yeah, I looked at the ratings. I looked at the ratings. They're okay.
You guys put a damper on that for sure.
Yeah, right. Really hurt the NFL in the process. How did they ever survive? Look, man, if you don't like that, it's totally fine. Change channel. It's all right. We'll survive with the six other people that are
People
listening.
need you to see them doing that,
Yes,
right? They need to let you know that they're doing it because it does something for them. It's almost like the old Big Ben. I got to tell you I'm hurt before I go out there so you guys know I'm playing through something.
That's a really good way of comparing it, actually. Right? I couldn't believe. It's like, oh, he just wanted me to tell. I'm like, again, never tell me. Just don't tell. Just tell him I said, go F yourself, and that'll be that. And let him,
love that you did that.
And let him call the powers that be at Odyssey, and I'll have, if that's what I get fired over, that's what I get fired over. I don't care.
Have you ever had the person that would call in and tell you that they're never listening again?
Oh,
it's
God.
like if you didn't call in, I would have never known.
100%. They're never going to listen
Put down
again.
one listener.
My favorite thing is when somebody would call and say they didn't like the topic you were discussing. Like, imagine calling the Oprah show. Like, imagine you're watching Oprah Winfrey and you're like, I'm just not interested, and calling to say, I don't want you to talk about this. Like, there's so many other channels. Just come back to the Oprah show tomorrow or in 15 minutes if you don't like what we're talking about. It's not.
Can you not
that
have
hard.
Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes on anymore?
Right.
I don't care about
jumping
them
on
in
the couch.
Scientology.
Yeah, right. Like, call tomorrow. Tomorrow might be the day for you. Oh God, man. Yeah, I did see that. But then Jeremy and I, and Rob, we had it out because I realized last week was the 10th anniversary of the final end of the old radio station. Drew brought that up to me, which I saw to its death. Jeremy, you were already given the death. You were already the crazy part
for people that don't know,
Yeah.
like we would record those shows at the barn where we'd have Ravens players come out, and then they would rerun it the next day, sometime during Bob Haney's show or even during Nestor's show if he felt like not coming in, because he's a lazy bastard. But anyway, so anyway, he was firing Terry Ford in the basement. Drew Forrester had left, and he asked me to stay to run this for him while he was doing that. And I'm like, okay. So while I'm working and not getting paid, they called me down to the basement and fired me, and he had 2 separate severance checks, one of which had 2 Ravens tickets minus the price that he wanted to charge me for them, and then the other one had the amount that he was going to give me. Now, look, I think it's nice that they gave me any severance at all, but I don't think that was his idea. I think that was somebody else's idea. And then I had to sit next to him at the game because my mom really wanted to go to the Ravens.
Oh, I declined their severance offer.
Did you really?
I did, 100%. I said, here's the number. Because I can always get unemployment, you know what I mean? Like, I'll do unemployment for a little while, and then I'll go get a job, right? I said, here's the number. If you want me to sign something that says whatever, that I'm not allowed to talk about anything that I experienced here, then it's going to cost you this amount. Like, it's that simple. Like, I worked here for 6 years. You're going to have to pay me 6 paychecks worth of severance if you want me to sign your paperwork. And they said, well, we'll offer you 2. And I said, well, then I'm not, you can rip the check up and do whatever you want to do with it, but I'm not taking it. And I'll take unemployment for a little while, and I'll be that guy. And then, then when everyone, there's lots of stuff that if it was ever relevant enough that I know that would probably be very problematic. It's just that human is so irrelevant that why would anybody care, right? Like,
yeah. I just saw one of his posts on there that he's getting ready to make comments about Orioles' new ownership, and then it's just so funny. I started reading through the comments, and everyone's like, "Who cares what you think?
My God,
you're irrelevant."
So like I want to say like 5 years ago, I got a call from somebody that said, your old boss is threatening that he's going to run for mayor, and I was like, if he actually did, would I have the obligation to like come out and say, hey, let me tell you some things you should know about this human, right? Like,
absolutely.
And then somebody else said, dude, if he ran for mayor, he would get 5 votes. It would be like Ralph Jaffe, who used to call into the radio show, like running for governor. Like,
doesn't he still Drew money?
I'm pretty sure. Sure.
Maybe that's somebody else. But no, he called our show and he goes, I'm Ralph Jaffe.
Right.
I'm like, nobody cares who you are.
And that's the thing. Like, he would always be like, I'm a candidate for governor. And then you look and you'd be like, you got like 8 votes. Like, what do you mean you're a candidate for governor? And that's what it was explained to me would happen if that person, if he ever ran for mayor. Like, dude, he wouldn't be an actual candidate. He would be someone trying to get celebrity off of being a candidate. And I was like, no. Right. All right. Then I don't have to worry about that. So it's what it is. But that was fun. I enjoyed it. Was therapeutic chatting with you guys about that stuff.
So I got a ton of messages back from people. Some saying, oh, I always wondered what happened in the very end. I always wondered, what happened with you guys. And like the reason I'm so passionate about this is I met with Nestor a month before he fired me, asking if I was safe because I heard some changes were coming down. And his exact words to me were, "You're not my cup of tea, but I can see why people like you." Okay, fine enough. And then I'm going through the worst time of my life. I'm going through my divorce, and it got so ugly. And then he fired me, and I'm going, "Oh my God, what am I?" That's why I had to take the severance check.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Just so frustrated, like that whole year, and then falling. It's kind of weird because it was almost like I was traded to ESPN to produce Anita's show, and then her producer, I think Adam, was.
Adam went to Drew. Yeah.
That
is funny. I never even thought about that. I do remember like the first time that you and I actually ever met was in Arizona, and neither of us were working for the guy at the time. You were working for audit or CBS already at that point, and I was out in Arizona. And I like it is humorous to me because somebody brought that up. I was like, I actually never worked with Jeremy for like the majority of my career. We were never at the same place at the same time until these last couple of years. It's just the way that it worked out. I appreciate everybody who asks like, would you consider writing a book about it or like make it?
The only person that shouldn't write a book about it's Nestor because it would be so biased and full of lies.
It's the issue is, and I've said this to a couple of people. Like Our friend Pete Eibner, for example, like really seriously thinks that we should try to put together a project about it.
I missed his call the other day, and I never called him back, and that's probably what it was about.
I love the thought. I don't know how you do it. Like, if you would have to involve him in some capacity, but the moment you involve him, it's just gaslighting, right? Like
100%.
And so I don't know how you do it and thread that needle of like you can't do that project and completely exclude him, right? Like you can't do it. But if you include him in any way, it's just going to be gaslighting nonsense.
You know what it'd be like? You remember the Bishop Sycamore documentary?
And with
like
the
if
guy.
you only listen to the one guy
Right?
that was in charge of it, you'd be like, oh, he's not a bad guy.
Right.
And then you hear everybody else talk. It's like, yes, he's an incredibly
No,
bad
it was like abusive. Like he should be in jail.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe you could do it that way where you try to present like both sides, but I hate like there isn't a both sides here. There was a really functional, really good special radio station and one human that tried to torpedo it every opportunity that he had the chance to do it.
Yep.
So how do you present that stuff? I'm not saying I would never consider it, right? I'm not saying I would never be involved. I'm interested in, and obviously the story of how many of us have come through that place, like, it's overwhelming.
Well, to your point, though, it's like I don't think you could tell the story without Nestor's side of things. But again, I know what his side is,
Right.
and I know if he told the story by himself, that it would be totally fictional.
Yes.
And just all about him. By the way, if he told a story about the radio station, somehow 75% of it would be just about him.
Right. Correct.
So, and that's part of the problem. But it was like I loved that station.
Yeah.
I loved the fact that I got to work there. And the weirdest thing is the only time in my life where I've been told I can't talk about something came from him to not bash Brian Billick. Like, that was it. That's the only time in my life that someone
really
sports-wise has said, hey, you can't talk about this. No, you don't do stupid things.
No.
Like, we're not going to have the Orioles on our network, and I'm just going to go out and put a flamethrower to them.
Right.
But I've never been that guy anyway.
Well, I think that's the point. And I've said this to a lot of people. Like, you can make a point without it being personal or without it being trashing someone. Like, you can say, I don't think – look, man, a couple weeks ago, I said I don't think the Orioles that Ramon Arias serves a purpose to the Orioles anymore. And I'm an idiot, right? Like, how stupid.
Well, I mean, they don't have anything else. He's got to be out there, right?
How stupid in hindsight does that sound? I think you can say things without it being attacking and about it being personal. Yeah, he once fought with me because I don't know how much. Do you know what a colossal asshole Steve Smith Sr. was?
The wide receiver?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I told a story about he could be a jerk. I had like 4 different encounters with him, some of which where I didn't know if he was just playing it up. But I held the door for him in New Orleans when he was on the Panthers.
Yeah.
He was walking in the Mothers. And I've never had somebody get so close to my face and mean mug me like they wanted to punch me. And I'm going, what was that about? I just thought like a thank you would have sufficed.
Yeah, that would have been okay.
I literally just held the door for him.
That guy, again, God bless him, because he was far better than I thought he would be at the stage of his career when he showed up. And I'm not going to try. I will not gaslight because I didn't like him personally, what he was as a football player. It's also embarrassing, like when Ravens fans voted him like the greatest wide receiver in Ravens history. Like, okay, all right, like that's embarrassing. But what I would say is
fun to root for, though. Like, he's got that chip on his shoulder.
The whole thing. But that was how he existed as a human. Like, he existed in that way. One day, he was listening to the old radio station. Somebody called in and said, "Hey, Glenn, have you seen like what?" And this is before the first season he was in town. Have you seen what Steve Smith's role is going to be? Because we didn't know. Like, could he still be an outside receiver at that point in his career? Would they exclusively use him in the slot? Like, what was the thought process? And my answer was, I haven't been out there yet. I don't know what the plan is, right? Like, something it was the most vague, generic answer I could give. He apparently was listening, gets on Twitter, and starts essing all. What,
I think I remember this.
What do you mean you don't know what my role is? I'm like, I'm like, whoa, bro. Like, what the
Unreal.
F, man? Like, what is this?
Well, I did a Ravens event with him, and we were on the back of a truck with a couple other people. Like, and I'm interviewing him, and he was busting my balls on that truck, and like it's in front of all these Ravens fans, and I'm not going to give it back to him. Like, I'm just going to laugh it off.
Right.
And I was like,
right.
Man, that was a little aggressive, but like it didn't hurt my feelings or anything.
No. Well, and so this all happens, and I'd said back to him on Twitter, I'm like, dude, I didn't say I doubt you. I just said I haven't been to practice to see how you were lined up. And that mother effer comes running in, his once a week appearance at the radio station, comes running in like, you don't need to be starting fights with Steve Smith. We might want to do business with him. I'm like, what?
Oh my God.
What the F is happening? Like, this is the most colossally insane hour of my life that has ever occurred. because I said I haven't been to practice and don't know what the plan is for Steve Smith.
It's unbelievable, man, that would and none of this stuff surprised me, even with the Steve Smith stuff. But I had a moment. My first year there, I worked for free for Nestor.
Yeah.
And about 6 months in, he was filling in on the morning show for Spiro. Spiro was out, and Spiro texted me after our interview too, which was awesome to kind of just catch up with him.
Yeah.
And long story short, like, Nestor's filling in, and there was this thing you had to hit. There was just one simple click. At the bottom of his computer screen, it said net on, net off. And what that meant was internet on, so you can have the national radio show come through.
Right.
So he comes in, and he doesn't know how to turn it off. Now, I've been working there 6 months, but all I've been doing is answering phones because the radio host ran his own board, except on the weekends, somebody would get called in, and then Bruce and Brent would do their show and have somebody run the board. So Nestor is browbeating me, destroying me over the air, calling me all kinds of names. This idiot, who is this stupid producer? He doesn't know what to do. I get to the bottom of it. I called Deb, who worked behind the scenes. She told me, all you have to do is go click net off. So I go in and I fix it. As soon as we come back, Nestor's like, I fixed it. This idiot didn't know what he was doing. I got it done. I can't believe we've got morons around here. Like, totally passed the buck and crapped all over me. And that's why when people say to me, like, oh, but you kind of owe him a big thank you for hiring you. I was like, he didn't even know I existed 6 months into working there. Steve Hennessy hired me.
Yeah, I
do appreciate it. But,
I've said to a million people, if that's how somebody else feels, and like randomly, apparently it's how Cunningham feels, which is bizarre of all the people.
Yeah.
Because he kept commenting. If that's how you feel, then great. I'm telling. And my situation was obviously a little bit different because I was well into my career and just kind of wanted to come home to be at home. Like, I turned down mornings in Phoenix because I just sort of wanted to be at home. That was the way that it was. And by the way, you guys had created a really special radio station that mattered. As I said to you guys on Friday, I was working at 105.7 wishing that I was working over there because there was something happening. Like, you guys had something there.
It was cool. It was like the perfect thing you said. It was Barstool before Barstool.
That's exactly.
I mean, it's exactly it.
Stein and I talk about that all the time. Like, it was, you would just walk in and there could be anybody in the studio. Anybody could just be hanging out in the studio at any point.
Can I tell you, working the morning show, there were a couple times. One time I came in, there was a deer in the house.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't somebody left the door open and there was a freaking deer in there. The other time I found like a dead hedgehog, I guess it got so hot in that house and they turned the AC off on the weekend because the whole radio station was done out of a house.
Yep.
And it's just funny. There was an actual deer in the lobby, and I'm like, "What do I shoot it? What do I do? What do I do?" You just wait for it to walk out. And there was another time we were on the air, and a lot of times the guys on the air would leave the door wide open to let the air come through.
Yeah.
And two random ass dogs came in.
There you go.
And they were just right in the lobby, and I don't know if they're aggressive or not. I'm like, what the hell is this? You know?
That's about right. That's about right. Or like the time Drew and I were in the middle of the show and a stranger just came up from the basement. Just a person we had never seen before in our lives wandered up from the basement, waved to us, and then walked to the bathroom. And Drew and I said, "What? Like is this guy here to shoot us? Like, what is going on?" And then we found out that this person had been hired as a salesperson, but the trade-off was he needed to live in the radio station because he was getting divorced. And no one thought to say, "Hey, just so you know, when you come in on Monday, there's gonna be another human there."
Dave's in the basement, man. Tell somebody.
Which, like, again, we all had moments where we slept in the basement for various reasons. Like, that part doesn't, the idea that somebody was sleeping in the basement, I think it plays into what that experience was that you just never knew exactly. Alan walked in on me fornicating once at that radio station.
Nice.
That is a thing that occurred.
Speaking of fornication, man, do you remember the porn star Mary Carey that ran
of course,
for
governor,
governor?
California, 100%.
So there were a couple guys at the station. She came to the station. She was talking with all us. You know, guys talk big. It's like, oh, you know what I would do if I had her? And she's like, well, I'll go in the basement with you right now. And they were like, no.
Yeah,
like, it's a little, what's the right word? A little imposing, or when you think about it in the moment. It's like, yeah, I'd love to do that, but now everybody's watching, and like, okay, I'm not doing it. But we had some really interesting days there.
It was a great time, other than one person. It was a really great time, other than one thing.
You nailed that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, that's what it was.
I liked everybody that worked there, except for him.
Yep. I mean, as Rob pointed out, like lifelong friendships, lifelong relationships, stuff that I care about a great deal, but it's what it is, man. All right. So I don't know. It's just more of the same when we talk about the Orioles right now, right? Like I just keep saying
they're just mediocre right now, but everybody is.
And that's the thing. I think if you just keep treading water, just don't drown, continue to win enough games that you're in this. I can't tell you that they will figure it out. I have no idea if they'll figure it out or not. But stay above water, get some pieces back. Hopefully you avoid any other significant injuries, and I get that that's a, knock on every piece. Then you give yourself a chance. And I know that doesn't make anybody feel good, but that's the reality of the circumstance. Like, there have been a couple of times during this process where we really have, dude, in the 6th inning on Friday night, I was veering into it's over, man. Like, it's just not happening territory. But then I was reminded that can change very quickly, and obviously it did change very quickly. It's frustrating, but I don't think there's a big statement that I can make about it other than you just have to keep watching and see what happens.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, you look at the Phillies, and if I'm a Phillies fan, I'm kind of losing my mind because they didn't have the same injuries that the Orioles had, and then they just come out of the All-Star break and just look below average at best. And it's all the teams. Like, even the Yankees. Yankees struggled against the Tigers, and they struggled against the White Sox, and then they struggled against who was just there, Colorado. I'm not saying they didn't win some games, but those are teams. If you're the Yankees, you probably expect the sweep. Right. Definitely take 2 out of 3, and that wasn't happening. So the other thing I was telling somebody else is they're going to be lucky to make the playoffs, and I go, they have a 98.8% chance of making the playoffs. So they're going to be in the postseason. We just don't know what they're going to do when they're there.
Yep. And I don't have a great feeling about it today, but they don't start the playoffs today. So, get back. And again, somebody would point out no Rangers fan had a great feeling going into the playoffs a year ago. And I get that doesn't mean that, every team that wins the World Series is going to be like last year's Rangers where they limp into the playoffs. But I don't know who's going – right now, whose fan base is confident about their team at the moment? Like Arizona's, I guess, right, is confident about their team? San Diego, maybe?
Houston finally got some pitching back, and now they have some decisions to make in their rotation. So it all depends on how Verlander pitched moving forward. He just came back and got rocked in his first start. So, I mean, look, I think there's not a lot of teams that feel great. I mean, if you're the Dodgers, you've spent so much money. You got Mookie
you
Betts
have Shohei Ohtani,
and then Ohtani started pitching too, which is interesting, whether or not they use him in the postseason. And that's what I've said about him all along. Like, if I had a Shohei Ohtani on my team, and I understand how valuable he is, like, I would literally bat him all year long and then get him ramped up to pitch in August through September, get him like almost like it's spring training for him, and use him in the postseason, whether it's as a closer, as a starter. Like, you have options then. I just think that's where he would be most valuable as a weapon, because if he's pitching and hitting the whole season, you're just going to wear his ass out.
It's a really interesting thought, man. I saw a lot of people talking about the idea of him being, like a reliever in the postseason. I was like, yeah, that's enticing. Like, there's no way around that. That is really enticing. All right, what are we plugging?
ConcreteLocks.com. Check it out. Tell me, like I said to everybody, just check it out because I think the website looks nice. If there's something you like, don't like. So that's what I'm going to be pushing forward now and trying to make some headway with that. And I got a long transition to get everybody from Telegram to sign up, but at least my headache's finally over of trying to juggle all this. It's a lot. And this summer's been just hell, man. I'm done doing the national shows. I feel like I was double dipping every day. And that's one of the reasons, like, not make excuses in what we talked about, but like trying to get anything done when you're doing a radio show from 6 to 10 in the morning and then 3 to 7 in the afternoon. It's like your whole day shot.
That's tough, man. And I've been dealing with this a lot recently because I decided to take some classes this semester, and then I have no idea when I have time to do this. Like, you convince yourself, oh, you do these things online, no problem. You can do them whenever you want, but there is no whenever. Like, that whenever never comes.
Yeah. My life, I never find time, and when I do, all I want to do is sit there and stare at the wall.
Yeah.
And anytime I hear somebody talk about taking classes, I always want to go back to the Rodney Dangerfield line. Well, call me when you have no class.
Yeah,
that's probably when you'll need me.
At JCon Sports on Twitter. Love you, buddy. We're gonna hammer this out. We're gonna get a date. We're gonna make this happen, and we'll start picks on that. Oh, hang on. I'll run this by you. This is what I think the combination is. How do we feel about this? This would be if we do the Brazilian theme, 4 parts. You got to get a wax on air.
Mm-hmm.
You have to sing both Copacabana and Rio by Duran Duran.
Cool.
That stupid Couscous Paulista thing that Griffin found, you got to eat one of those, and we got to figure out. It's not meat. I don't know if Tim wants to do that or not. He's a meat man, so we got to work on that. But they also eat a lot of beef.
You haven't had meat in there.
Apparently,
like sardines.
Well, yeah, there's sardines in there. In Brazil, they also eat a lot of beef shoulder. Apparently, that's a thing, and it's not.
Delicious.
It's apparently not so delicious.
Really?
So we can maybe entice Tim to participate by including some beef shoulder in the conversation, and then we allow John Rollo to strike you 4 times.
Oh God.
Oh.
Oh jeez.
4 strikes.
Oh.
Every.
Did you clear that with John?
Oh, I mean, come on. John will do that, right?
Yeah, he will. I just want to make sure. Like, that's the one I don't want to do.
Well, I agree. All right, hang on. Let's text John real quick and see if we can get an answer about this. All right, hang on. Let's.
Is he going to do like an open hand, like flare chop? Or are you talking about like kicking you in the leg, or?
Whatever his dealer's choice. I don't think you can know what's coming.
4 of them?
Not all at once. Like every 30 minutes.
I think what he should do is the open hand, like slap your chest and rip, like just tear your chest open.
I think
because he's not going to kill somebody that way.
But he's not going to hurt. Okay, it's going to hurt no matter what. And I think if I know John, he's going to do what like John Jones did to me, and he's going to, like take a little off of it to make sure you don't perish in the process. But it's still going to suck, right? Like it's still going to be unpleasant. So I think like maybe one's a leg kick, one's a chop, one's 4
okay.
strikes.
Yeah, I think that's better if you mix it up. I thought you were going to say we're going to have John Rollo come in and take you out to the parking lot and stick a parking cone up your ass, and I'm going, well,
you've had
here
worse.
we go again.
Yeah, right. I understand. If that's the totality of the punishment, how do we feel about it?
I'm good. I think the singing thing is the best part of it, because I don't know about some people. Like, I have no fears in anything. My biggest fear is singing in front of people, unless it's a goofy song where I think I can have fun with it.
Yeah, well, you got to do.
I really had to sing.
You've got to do "Zombie" and "Nothing Compares to You" as part of this thing.
Am I doing the Prince version?
No, you're doing the Sinead, the Sinead version. That's because it's the Irish thing, like that. You're doing the Sinead version.
Do you know what Sinead O'Connor did after she brushed her hair?
What?
She pulled up her pants.
That's Jeremy Conn. Enjoy him on the Big Bad Morning Show. Love you, buddy. Talk to you.
Rest in peace, Sinead. I love you too. I'll see you guys.
All right. So, how you feeling about the punishment? Hang on. Let me text Rollo.
It's a little scary. That last part's a little scary.
What, the 4 strikes?
Yeah.
It's 4. You can't take 4 strikes from John Rollo.
I mean, are you saying John Rollo's not that?
I'm not saying it won't. It's gonna suck. Nobody's debating that part's gonna suck.
I mean, yeah, I just gotta not. I can't have it be me.
That's what Kyle Ottenheimer always says. Yeah, I'll agree. I'm not gonna lose. Hang on.
I gotta really lock in this.
John.
This season. John. Should we go to break?
I'm texting him. Well, hang on. Maybe during break we can get a response. Like that's the idea.
Yeah, right.
We do a football picks league. And
gauge your interest.
We were wondering if. Hang on a second. I'll tell him.
Yeah, ask him if he wants to be in the picks league. I guess.
Maybe he does. But then what if he loses? He can't get struck by himself.
All right. Well, then we gotta.
We bring in a different John. He knows other John Rollos, I guess. And some others. Hang on a second. No. All right. And we were wondering if who else tried to quit the league? Stecca tried to quit the league,
Stecca's
right?
so yeah,
but we told him he's not allowed to,
yeah.
Right? We made that abundantly clear that he's not.
Yeah, I've texted him individually, and then I think in that group chat we also were like, well,
Stecca, what was the
response?
What was the response from Stecca during the individual?
He may not have said anything to me when I said, well, I'm pretty sure you know the rules.
Yeah, he either had to win the league or he had to avoid losing in spectacular fashion, and then we'd allow him out.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we're holding him hostage or anything like that. He could totally leave whenever he wants to, when he wins the league or
whenever he feels
losing
like getting
in spectacular
right.
fashion. Right. Yeah, that's all he's got to do. I mean, you do those things, he's good. He's gone. He's out. He's escaped. And if we had somebody who wanted to be a new Stetka, like if we could replace Stetka with a better Stetka, then I would listen. But have we had another Stetka ask? Oh, did you get a response from Dr. Nick?
I did not, actually. I'm going to send another message in the group chat.
Wondering if for our punishment for the loser, we could have you come in studio and
strike
and
the loser.
Hand out and dish out 4 strikes of your choice. All right, let's see how that goes. We'll see if we get a response from John Rollo, if that'll be part of the punishment. But the totality of that punishment feels about right? Like that's a good.
Yeah, that's
a good
like
Picks League punishment.
Yeah.
All right, that's the Brazilian theme. The wax. Kyle got his eyebrows threaded once. That was fun. He looked nice. Like I was like, dude, yeah.
You have to keep this up.
Yeah. I think this will work. All right, we'll come back in. We'll get a tidbit and two to wrap things up for a Monday edition. Oh, and if you missed our big news yesterday, I'll share it with you for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Want to improve your golf game or learn to play for the first time? The Baltimore Golf Academy has fun, instructional programs for the beginner golfer to everyday players. The Baltimore Golf Academy can take your game to the next level. Enroll today at baltimoregolfacademy.com.
Frederick Keys baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
We've all experienced it before. The fantasy football draft from hell. Your buddy says you can do it at his house, but he never asks his wife. She's screaming at him the whole time and forces you guys to sit outside in the unforgiving heat. Then everyone brings the exact same store-bought 7-layer dip, and somehow you accidentally draft someone named LeVar Jackson because your brain can't function in these circumstances. Don't cop out and just move your draft online this year. Let Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel handle everything for you. Book your draft party, complete with your choice of all-you-can-eat entrees, drinks, and custom draft kits for the whole league, plus a custom trophy for your champion and a $75 gift card for the commish. Visit PressBoxOnline.com/social. That's PressBoxOnline.com/social, and never have a fantasy draft from hell again.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
There he is, Agent 00 Chicken. Nothing can keep him from Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Because right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box for just $8 with a portion of each sale donated to a local charity. Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller, but it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion and seafood is always in season. Where the boardwalk is bustling and the beach is right outside your door. Where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. I have not gotten a response back from John yet, which makes me nervous. I think he'll do it. And if not, we know other fighters in the area, right? We know other...
Probably. I don't know. You want me to kick? I can kick the loser, too.
How many BJJ classes have you taken over the years?
None. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not going to be you. All right. It's got to be somebody. Again, it's a Brazil theme, so there's got to be some BJJ experience involved. It's got to happen. All right.
Probably figure it out.
Yeah, can you?
Well,
can you?
Well, no. I say we.
We can fight
together.
We
can.
We didn't talk at all about Florida State, Georgia Tech. Awesome. It was awesome. Like, what a fun time I had going from watching that game to watching the Orioles on Saturday. That was just like, oh, this is what our Saturdays are going to be like for the rest of the year. Yeah! All in, man. So that was neat. That was neat. And I don't really, like, I'm largely indifferent. Like, I think it was fun for everybody to just root for Georgia Tech because they were the underdog. I think that, I don't know why people are making, if I felt like there was a Twitter, it felt like Florida State was getting their comeuppance, like, because they whined about missing the playoff. Like, dude, they got screwed. Like, we can't rewrite history in that way. They lost no games, and we faulted them because their quarterback got hurt. Like, they did get screwed. Like, trying to make them the villains in this, they had every right to whine and complain about that. 1,000%. They got screwed. Now, that doesn't mean you have to like Florida State. Like, much of my life, Florida State was the annoying team that, like, they were Alabama for a lot of my life. I'm not even just in the ACC. Like, in college football, Florida State was a dominant program for much of my life. So if you just hate Florida State because you're my age, now if you're Griffin's age, you're like, yeah, Florida State's largely been irrelevant. Like, people have just Jameis. That's it. Like, that's the entirety of.
I forget. I guess what was it 10 or so years ago? It was like one of the towards the end of the ACC days when they like jumped into the top 25. And they like went to Tallahassee, I think, or they came here and then they just steamrolled Maryland or something.
Well, that would happen a lot.
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
Although Maryland did get some wins. Like, it was a big deal the times they did beat Florida State. You were like, wow, that really happened. But even the year that Maryland won the ACC, they lost to Florida State. For some reason, that game was played in Miami. I don't know why. It was very bizarre.
It's in Florida State.
Technically, yes. And forever, it was competitive for a while, and then Florida State pulled away in the second half. And Bobby Bowden did his post-game interview before the game was over. This is a weird bit. Like, back in the day, there was no, like, hey, we'll put it up online. Like, they had to get cut to the evening news. So, like, ABC was doing the game, and it was like a 3:30 game, and they basically said there's not going to be time for a post-game interview. You have to do it now. So, like, Bobby Bowden was doing his interview with, like, 2 minutes left on the clock. And I just remember being very, like, offended by that. Like, this son of a bitch is doing his interview, and the game's not even over yet. There could still be a miracle. Stayed with me. But Florida State actually lost 2 games in the ACC that year, so that's how Maryland was able to win the ACC in 2001, was by despite the fact they lost to Florida State. But, yeah, whatever. If you just wanted to root against Florida State because they're the team that had a 10 next to their name and we like rooting for upsets, then all good. As we talked about last week, the betting people were all telling me, like, get on Georgia Tech. Yeah. Not you.
Yeah,
you screwed that up good.
I was wrong.
You were wrong. The betting people. By the way, great start to your season in picks. Like,
I'm
real
getting them out of the way
dynamite.
now.
Oh, before they count?
Getting them out of the way now.
Not bad.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I asked me how many snaps of Ravens preseason football I watched.
I'm guessing all, right?
0.
Missed out.
Continued a streak of not a single snap all summer long. 0.
Yeah, you're real proud of it, huh? You think you're better than everybody.
No, I don't think I'm better than everybody. I think my life was more pleasant because of it.
Well,
I don't think I'm better.
If you watched the win, it would have been.
Sure. Owen Wright got hurt. I don't know that Owen Wright would have gotten the third running back job.
So that was the tough thing. So I do this the fringe Ravens where I pick where me and my friend always pick the guys on the outskirts. felt like all my guys were just dropping like flies to injury, especially on Saturday. So that was disappointing.
That's sad.
Owen Wright was, and he'd been having a great preseason. And it was
a lot of people think
that
he might have been in line for.
It's a bummer for me.
For being the last one to make a lot of people thought that he might have gotten the job over Rasheen Ali. Now the question seems to be: is it safely Rasheen Ali, or do they look for a veteran who will be available? Dalvin Cook's out there. And I don't know. I don't have the answer to what that might end up being, but they will have to make some roster decisions coming up. But that was kind of the big story from Saturday was the Owen Wright injury, and then obviously extraordinarily sad news over the weekend as Joe DeAlessandris passes away at the age of 70, Ravens offensive line coach. And I think there might be more known about the specifics of the illness that aren't being shared, because everybody's like, wow, an acute illness like that, and it happened that quickly. And that's their choice. Like, that's their choice to not share that. But Joe DeAlessandris, a beloved part of that organization, an utterly and completely beloved part of that staff. The players, they thought of him like family, man. And if you didn't read Jeff Zrebiec's piece about everything that he had been through and the loss of his own wife and his relationship with his daughter, like, I would really encourage you to search for that. I retweeted it last night because Jeff sent it back out. It kills you. And, like, you know, when somebody says that, you know, you die too young, you think about somebody like in their 40s, like it's too young, right? Like 70 is still too young. That's too young. Like, you got a lot of great years ahead of you, man. And just heartbreaking for the Baltimore Ravens and for Jody's family. And awful news. And there's obviously no good way to transition from that. That's just not the way that it works. But I will tell you that speaking of the Baltimore Ravens, we are very excited. And I joked that we announced it yesterday. The truth is, if you had picked up this print issue of Press Box, which is available for free, your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box, the one with Kyle Hamilton on the cover, you would have already known. Because right there, page 52, the Arthur Millette Show. There it is. The Arthur Millette Show is, we're really excited about this, thanks to 1-800-GAMBLER and to Easy Pass for making this possible. Pressbox has partnered up with Arthur Millette, number 10, and he will be joining us throughout the course of the season. Basically every other week, but it's not that simple. We're going to get some more of the dates up. What we know right now is the first show will be the Tuesday following the Chiefs game. So Tuesday, September 10th, we will kick off the Arthur Millette Show at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill. And it's very similar to the Tyus Bowser Show. I will tell you, from having now talked to Arthur a few times, he is fired up about this. He's really excited about doing it. He wants to get into media when his career's over. He's into some different things. We found out he went swimming with the sharks in the Bahamas this spring. And Reed and I were like, what? And he's just like, yeah, they're just animals.
Well, sharp teeth.
They're just animals? They're sharks. So we had some fun with that. And he's really into anime. So I have nothing to add to that conversation. I was like, great. Nothing. He's a chef. Like, we've learned a lot of interesting stuff about Arthur Millette. Great guy, and he and guests will be joining all season long. And he's already got some ideas of guys that he thinks are going to be joining him, and he's shooting for the stars, and we're fired up about that. So we want to see you September 10th. We will be at the Hamilton Sports Bar and Grill. Really excited, and one of our favorite places to go. I'm really glad we were able to continue this. I'm really, really happy, and I think Arthur is going to be a great partner for us. And he told us that he was ahead of schedule. He does not get to make the roster decisions himself, so he does not know whether or not he'll be put on IR to start the season. He can't control that. I think he's hoping that he won't, but again, he's not Eric DaCosta. They don't go to him and say, you make the roster decision. But either way, even if he is, he tells us he is ahead of schedule. So the excitement would be that he'll be back on the field very soon. And was obviously an impact player for this team a year ago and will be with us. PressBoxOnline.com/Millette, MAULET. PressBoxOnline.com/Millette to find out more. The Arthur Millette Show will launch Tuesday, September 10th. Let's get a tidbit.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, what you got?
All right, let's start with where do I want? Oh, okay. So I guess it's not necessarily a tidbit, but the Blue Jays and the Red Sox resuming a game that was suspended earlier in the year.
Yes, Danny Jansen. Yes. So for those that don't know, when was the game suspended, by the way?
All right, let me click this article here from Mass Live.
So
it was like way early in the season. Not way, but it was June 26th. Okay.
Okay, but still, that's a good amount of time. That's 2 months. Like, that allows for a lot of roster changes.
Yeah. With the trade deadline in there, obviously.
Yeah,
so.
but not just the trade deadline, but, like, guys getting hurt. Yeah. You got guys getting sent up and down. Who's like,
Blue Jays clearly not in it anymore. Like,
yeah, all of those things. Oh, by the way, I have great news. I have great news. LOL. Sure, we can figure something out. Confirmation from John Rollo. He's in.
Thank goodness.
He's in.
I mean, I guess.
All right, sorry. So I almost think that shouldn't be allowed. And I know it's going to sound weird. I would almost say at that point, like, if it's got to be 2 months, you just have to replay the game. And I know that gets into funny areas where, like,
well,
did you play 163 games this year and one of them counts as a tie? I don't know what the correct answer. We used to call, like, if there was a tie between two teams, you play 163rd game that year, which counted towards statistics. Despite the fact that nobody else got to play 163 games. There is precedent for that.
Those are always cool. Well,
they were the best. Oh my God, they were the best.
Yeah.
There was a
Like
Yankees Mariners game, and it's one of my most favorite baseball games of all time. It was a game 163 in the Kingdome on a Monday afternoon after the season ended, and the Mariners won. So that's part of the reason why I have such affinity towards it. Like, and I think about it all the time. It's one of my favorite baseball games ever. I bring all this up to say, it's a little goofy. Like, I don't know how dramatically different the rosters are, but, like, what the rules are. Everybody's got to go back to their position. Well, how many players are available to go back to their position? Like,
so they should be allowed to, like, resubmit lineups, maybe? Is that the way
I would just start a new game.
Yeah.
Like,
and it is weird. I mean, yeah.
So, yes.
Because they only played an inning.
What?
So they're resuming in the top of the second.
Oh, I didn't know that. This is stupid. You just washed the game out. What was the score?
It was 0-0. Neither team.
What are we doing?
It was Yariel Rodriguez on the mound for the Blue Jays.
Why did it have to be
who might
suspended?
not be? Okay, so yeah, Justin Turner was on the Blue Jays at the time.
Like, this is what I'm saying.
Danny Jansen was there at the time.
So that's what
Isaiah Kiner-Falefa was there at the time. Kiermaier's not on the team anymore.
What everybody's having fun with is that Danny Jansen was a Blue Jay when the game started. He is a Red Sox now. And according to baseball, he's eligible to play for the Red Sox. So in the official box score of this game, it will show that Danny Jansen played for both teams in the same game.
And he was also at bat when the game was suspended. So
that's pretty funny.
Whoever the Blue Jays hit here is going to be finishing the at bat for Jansen, and he will be cashing. They did confirm.
I get that it's like a neat baseball.
Reese McGuire was catching for the Red Sox.
I get that it's a neat baseball anomaly, but, like, this shouldn't happen. Like, come on, man. This is theater of the absurd. Just say the game never happened, wash it out, start a new game. It's not that hard. What are we doing? It's one thing if you're doing it to protect, like, hey, a team jumped out to a 6-0 lead in the first inning, and, like, it feels like you're punishing them if you take away the fact that they had a 6-0. It just feels like there should be the ability to use some discretion here and say, this is nonsense. What are we doing? That never happened. Play the game starting now. Anyway, sorry.
I guess I wanted to make sure I got that.
I'm ruining everybody's joy.
Yeah, you are.
All right.
It's supposed to be a fun thing.
Amanda Nisimova was trying to ruin my joy. I was really excited about her winning the first set against Qinwen Zheng, and now she's trying to give it back.
So the other fun thing was that if it had been a 2-strike count, then whoever came in, so I think it was 0-1. So the stats will not apply to Danny Jansen, the outcome of the at-bat. But if it had been 0-2,
then whatever they did, so like if that batter hit a home run, it would go to Danny Jansen,
or like the run. I don't know. I thought I knew. Maybe I don't. I guess I don't. But if it had been, so like the MLB scoring changes, there's an account on Twitter, and so they were like, oh, so what would have been the best is if it was a strike 3 in the dirt, and then the throw. So since Danny Jansen's cashing, he throws it down the line, like bad throw, and whoever the substitute is rounds the bases, gets thrown out at home. The way it would have gone in scoring was Danny Jansen strikes out, reaches first on an error by Danny Jansen, tagged out at home by Danny Jansen. It's not going to happen, but
all right, that would actually be kind of great.
That would
have
been fun. All right, and okay, so Jose Altuve was here this weekend. He kills the Orioles. He's up there on that list of Orioles killers.
But he kills. That's not unique.
Well, okay, but the stat was that he has the highest batting average in Camden Yards all time.
Okay. I would have guessed Ichiro would have been on that list somewhere. It seemed like
I did not see him on the list. So so he has the highest average. I decided to sort it by OPS.
Okay.
With at least 100 at bats. Can you name the top? There's 13 guys with an OPS above 1,000 with at least 100 at bats.
And does this include Orioles?
As
visitors.
As visitors.
So I'll say David Ortiz.
David Ortiz.
That's what we just did this exercise. Brian Matt has always murdered him, so it's not going to be David Ortiz.
It is not David Ortiz.
Manny Ramirez.
Manny is just below 963 OPS in his career, but over 300 at bats.
Alex Rodriguez.
Not A-Rod.
Well, what is going on here? Like what?
A good chunk of them are still active.
A good chunk of them are still active. Well, I'll try Gleyber Torres because it was on the last list we did.
No, Gleyber's not on there. I guess just because of the last couple of years they've figured it out. But he is not on the list.
Okay. Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge is number 1 in his has a 1.179 OPS in his 194 at bats.
Rafael Devers.
Devers? That's a good guess. Surprisingly, no.
That is surprising. George Springer.
Springer's a good guess, but he's not on there either.
Okay. Jose Batista.
Nope.
Edwin Encarnacion.
Nope.
Evan Longoria.
No. These are good guesses.
They are good guesses. Thank you. Dustin Pedroia.
Nope. I know. I guess I'm going to have to start. I'm going to have to change the parameters for this.
Well, it feels like you should just be picking Mookie Betts.
No.
What? Xander Bogaerts.
Nope.
Jackie Bradley.
No.
What is this list? Jacoby Ellsbury.
Nope, no Ellsbury.
Johnny Damon.
Nope.
Did I guess Springer?
You did, and he's not on the list.
On the list. Vlad.
Which one? Both are. Both have over a 1,000 OPS.
How about that?
Vlad Jr. 1.009 and Vlad Sr. 1.011.
Jesus Christ. Ben Zobrist.
No Ben Zobrist.
I mean, I guess what I'm learning is it's not guys in the division.
No, there are. I mean,
what? What?
All right. Let's go. All right, so we have.
It's 12:38.
The guy. Yeah, you're right. The guy that this is surrounded around. This tidbit.
This started because of his Altuve.
Altuve is second.
Always forget. There's other people that are like he doesn't count because that's what the premise was.
Oh, okay. Okay, so he did his damage with the Blue Jays. Current Blue Jay.
Did his damage with the Blue Jays.
Did his damage, no longer active, did his damage with the Rangers.
Wait, what?
I'm just listing all the
wait.
teams
Okay,
that you would know.
Hang on a second. Help me get one guy right now.
Okay.
The one guy you're saying is a current Blue Jay.
There's a current Blue Jay.
Bichette.
Bo Bichette, yes. Okay. 1.058. He is fourth.
Guy who did his damage with the Rangers, Josh Hamilton.
Josh Hamilton
I
is
should have
fifth.
guessed that. He did kill the Orioles.
Third on the list, still an active player, but known for his damage done with the Blue Jays.
Still an active player known.
He was on
for
one of
the
our lists
damage.
recently.
Grichuk.
Yes, Randall Grichuk is number 3 with at least 100 at-bats, so 1.069 OPS at Camden Yards.
Son of a bitch. Hate that guy. How have we not signed him?
For real.
And then
all right, number 6 on the list. They saw him earlier this week as well, but he did most of his damage with the Red Sox. Did some damage this week though too.
did some damage this week. Did most of his damage with the Red Sox. Who is a current Astro? Was this week or last weekend?
This past week, not an Astro though.
But they didn't. The Mets didn't come to Camden Yards.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so he didn't add to his stats, but he hurt the Orioles.
I'm not looking at the camera when I did that face. I should have been looking at the camera when I made that face. This effing guy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's on me. That's on me.
Well, I'm like, it's clearly not a Met because they didn't come here.
Okay, he's a Met.
A Met, but he did his damage with the Red Sox. Why am I blanking on who this is? A Met who did his damage with the Red Sox would be with the Red Sox. Who's a Met who did? Oh, J.D. Martinez.
Yes, J.D. Martinez. 18 home runs as well at Camden Yards.
All right, and
number 7 on our list. He's known as a Cleveland baseball player. He's no longer active.
No longer active. Known as a Cleveland Jim.
Actually finished his career in Baltimore.
Yeah.
So maybe that's his. So these count. These are counting some Baltimore stats.
Is it Jim Thome?
No, not Jim Thome.
Finished his career in Baltimore. Known as a Cleveland then Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Finished his career in Baltimore. Finished his career in Baltimore, known as and not Jim Thome.
Not Jim Thome.
Really surprised by the not Jim Thome aspect of this.
Played 2000 and 2001 in Baltimore.
That requires me to remember anything about the 2000, 2001 Orioles. They were bad Orioles, man. Those were some terrible, terrible Orioles. 2000.
50 home runs in 1995 with Cleveland.
With Cleveland, he hit 50 home runs, and then he Albert Bell.
Albert Bell,
yeah.
yes.
What am I doing?
Albert Bell, 7th highest OPS.
My bad.
Another Cleveland/Texas player.
Another Cleveland/Texas. I'm not playing the grid recently, so. Cleveland
Always known as a good on-base guy.
Known as a good on-base guy. Well, I was going to say Kinsler, but that's not Cleveland. Wow, Cleveland/Texas. On-base guy. All right, tell me.
Shin-Soo Choo.
Oh, yeah. For some reason, I also... Wasn't he a Red, too? I think of the Reds a lot.
Yeah, he was. I think, did he finish his career with the Reds, maybe?
I don't remember.
I mean, I think of him as a Cleveland/Ranger.
For some reason, I associate him with the Rangers and the Reds. I don't know why that is. He spent much more time in Cleveland than he did in Cincinnati. He spent one season in Cincinnati. I have no idea why I associate him so much with Cincinnati.
Red Sox, 2 Red Sox, actually.
2 Red Sox.
Neither active, I don't think, anymore.
Neither active
One's definitely not active.
Mitch Moreland.
Not Mitch Moreland.
Carl Everett.
No, not Carl Everett.
He was a prominent Mo Vaughn.
No. He was an infielder.
He was an infielder.
Okay. He started his career in St. Louis. I didn't even know that.
Started his career in St. Louis.
St. Louis, Atlanta for a season, 2 years as a Dodger, and then last 5 seasons with the Red Sox.
I can picture who this is. And it's still not... All right, tell me.
J.D. Drew.
Oh, God damn it. I should have gotten J.D. Drew.
He was a Red Sox and A.
Wait, do you mean Steven Drew?
No, wait, J.D. Drew is the one I was just doing.
But I thought J.D. Drew was an outfielder.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, because you're right. J.D. You did say
Drew was the infielder.
Steven Drew was an infielder. J.D. Drew was an outfielder.
Okay, I meant J.D. Drew.
Yeah.
I got my Drew's positions confused.
It did screw me up a little bit, but not enough. It's the whole thing. Go ahead. And then
he started as a Red Sox. He was at Oakland A. Most recent was
Giambi.
No, not Giambi.
Oh.
He's also an Astro.
Also an Astro.
1 World Series with the Astros.
Won a World Series with the Astros.
No longer in baseball.
The first World Series, the 2017 World Series. That would have been who's on that?
He was an outfielder.
He was Reddick.
Yes, Josh Reddick. And then number 12 on this list to round everything
I don't
out.
remember Reddick having such success in Baltimore. That's
apparently he did.
Yeah,
Over
that's
1,000
news.
OPS.
Okay.
And then he was a Seattle Mariner. Hall of Famer.
Edgar Martinez.
Edgar Martinez.
All right, very good. Very good. That was painful. It's 12:50. We got to go. Tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
All right. Here's what's coming up totally tubular-wise. No Orioles this evening, so you won't be distracted from watching the U.S. Open, which is good news.
Brilliant.
That is spectacular. Francis Tiafoe, Alexander Kovacevic, 7 o'clock. I can't tell you for sure like how much of ESPN's coverage will be that versus and I think it moves to ESPN2 tonight because ESPN does it? What does ESPN have tonight? Oh, they have
baseball tonight maybe? No.
Oh, it's on both tonight. It's on both ESPN and ESPN2. So my guess is that means that the probably means ESPN2 will focus on the TFO match, is if I had to guess, because they normally do like one's focused on Louis Armstrong and one's focused on Arthur Ashe. So that does make me think that ESPN2 will have that. UMBC Soccer hosts Howard tonight at 7 o'clock. That's on ESPN+. Baseball today, Blue Jays, Red Sox, 2:05 on ESPN+. Masson's got Nationals, Yankees at 6:45. I guess we're Nationals fans. Go Dylan Cruz.
Yeah, go Dylan Cruz.
Makes his Major League debut tonight.
Those guys that were hurting us, James Wood and
Come on, man.
the other ones.
Come on. MLB Network, Royals, Guardians at 1:10. Fox Sports 1 is Astros, Phillies at 6:40. Rays, Mariners at 9:40. Monumental tonight for Mystics Storm at 10 o'clock and USA for WWE Monday Night Raw at 8. Anything non-sports-wise?
Nope. And it looks like all the late night
What are the
hosts
excuses
took the week off
for
too.
that? Well, I guess Labor Day, like everything comes back after the holiday probably.
Yeah.
School's back though. so-
Bachelorette, American Ninja Warrior. What's this?
All right, very good. I could use something to watch. I was thinking about that. I could use.
You watch the Anonymous after Raw
And in
tonight.
fairness, I really can't because I'm just going to be watching tennis for the next 2 weeks. So I'm lying when I say I could use something to watch. I'm not going to be watching it. It's tennis, Orioles, football for me until
further notice.
Yeah. In fact, it's going to be really awkward the night the Ravens are playing and it's the U.S. Open's women's semifinals. And I'm just like, what? But it does clear me out that on Sunday I don't have to be distracted by the Orioles. Can just watch the men's final, and I do appreciate that. Or I don't have to be distracted by the Ravens. I can just watch the men's final.
Ravens always
I might
distracting.
still be watching. I don't know what time the Orioles play that day. I hope I'm not still distracted by them. Yeah.
1:30.
All right, so hopefully it's over in time. All's good. All right, thanks today to, we had a lot today. Vernon Davis. Thanks to Tim Kurkjian. Thanks to Ken Zalis and to Jeremy Conn. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the.
Oh my God,
It's so good. All right, sorry, that's on me, not on you. I'm not
we
mad
get-
at you.
well, it was good harmony that time, though,
It
so-
was. It wasn't bad. Tab at glennclarkradio.com. Anything tomorrow? Of course.
stuff
Of course. We'll continue Fantasy Week, which started with a bang.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Maryland 5-Star Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Baltimore's Classic 5 golf courses, Cruise Maryland, Ocean City, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costa-Sin, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Francis Tiafoe. Duke sucks.